Billionaire comes home early, and the cleaning lady tells him not to make noise. The reason? Michael Richardson cancelled all his afternoon meetings and decided to go home 3 hours early, eager to surprise his wife Jennifer on their 15th wedding anniversary. But as he opened the main door of his mansion in Beverly Hills, the cleaning lady Dorothy came running up, placing her yellow-gloved hands over his mouth with a desperate expression. Dorothy urgently whispered for him not to make any noise. Upstairs, soft voices were talking, and Michael could clearly hear that one of them belonged to his wife, Jennifer. But there was another voice, more fragile and elderly, that he couldn't identify. "Mr. Michael, for heaven's sake, don't go up now," begged Dorothy, still holding his arm firmly with her cleaning gloves. "Mrs. Jennifer can't know you've come home early." "Dorothy, what's going on in my house?" asked Michael, trying to keep his voice down but with his heart racing. The cleaning lady looked around, checking that no one else was nearby. She had worked for the family for 8 years and had never shown so much nervousness. "It's about the lady who comes here every Thursday when you travel to New York," revealed Dorothy, taking a deep breath. "Mrs. Jennifer forbade me from telling, but I can't keep this secret any longer." Michael felt a wave of heat rise through his chest. Thursday was always his day to travel to the company's headquarters in the capital. Who was this lady who visited his house in his absence? "What lady, Dorothy?" he insisted, holding the housekeeper's wrists. "It's Mrs. Margaret, sir. She says she's your real mother," whispered Dorothy, her eyes welling up. Michael's world collapsed at that moment. His real mother had left when he was just 2 years old, or at least that's what his adoptive parents had always told him. All his life he believed she had disappeared forever, leaving him with the Richardsons, who raised him with love but never knew details about his origins. "My mother died decades ago, Dorothy." "You must be confused," said Michael, trying to convince himself of what he was saying. "No, sir, she brought old photos, certificates, everything, and you have the same birthmark on your neck as she does. Mrs. Jennifer confirmed that she really is your mother, but asked for secrecy." Michael's legs trembled. He had a small crescent-shaped mark on the right side of his neck, something he had always considered just an unimportant detail. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. "How did she find us?" asked Michael, leaning against the wall of the entry hall. "Mrs. Margaret said she works as a volunteer at St. Vincent's retirement home here in Hoboken. 3 months ago, she saw an article about you in the local newspaper, about the donation you made to the children's hospital. She recognized your face immediately." Dorothy led Michael to the living room, away from the stairs leading to the upper floor. There, she told him how it all began. "The first day she came, I almost called security. A simple lady, wearing very humble clothes, asking to speak to the owner of the house. But when she showed an old photo of you as a baby, identical to the one Mrs. Jennifer keeps in the family album, I knew it was true." Michael vaguely remembered that photo. Jennifer had found it among his adoptive parents' documents after they passed away a few years ago. Mrs. Jennifer came down to attend to her, and when she saw the lady, she turned white as a sheet. They talked for 2 hours in the living room. "In the end, your wife asked Mrs. Margaret to come back the following Thursday when you would be traveling. And Jennifer never told me anything," murmured Michael, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. "Mrs. Jennifer said she wanted to protect you. That finding out about your real mother could be too upsetting, especially now that business is going so well." Michael tried to process the information. Jennifer had always been overprotective regarding his past. She knew how he had suffered as a teenager, questioning his origins, creating fantasies about who his biological parents might be. "Dorothy, what else do you know about these visits?" The caretaker looked once more toward the stairs, listening to the voices that continued talking softly upstairs. "Mrs. Margaret always comes with an old cloth bag, full of things she saved from you. Baby clothes, a tiny little shoe, even a scribble you made when you were 3, before you went to live with the Richardsons." Michael felt his eyes fill with tears. Some part of him had always known there was more to the story about his childhood. "She tells stories about when you were little, says you loved playing with water, that you cried whenever you saw the sunset, that you had the habit of hugging cushions when you slept." Each detail hit Michael like a punch in the stomach. He still had those same habits. He still felt melancholy at dusk. He still hugged pillows when he slept, details that not even Jennifer knew completely. Why doesn't Jennifer want me to know this, Dorothy? Mrs. Jennifer is afraid, sir. Afraid that the lady wants money, afraid that this will change everything between you. But I see how Mrs. Margaret cries when she talks about you. It's not about interest. It's a mother's love, truly. Michael was silent for a few minutes, listening to the murmur of voices coming from the upper floor. A strange feeling came over him, as if the pieces of a puzzle were finally falling into place. Dorothy, I need to go up and see this woman. No, sir. Mrs. Jennifer will be very angry with me. She said if I told you anything, I'd lose my job on the spot. Michael looked at the caretaker, a woman in her early 50s who had always treated his family with dedication. Dorothy had raised 3 children alone and depended on that job to support the grandchildren who lived with her. Dorothy, I promise you won't lose your job, but I need to understand what's happening in my own home. The caretaker sighed deeply, taking off her yellow gloves and wiping her hands on her apron. All right, sir, but go up slowly and stop before you reach the room. They are in the master suite looking at old photos. Michael went up the marble staircase he knew so well, but each step seemed different now. The second-floor hallway was silent, except for the voices coming from the master bedroom. He approached the slightly open door and could hear the conversation. Jennifer, I just want him to know that I never meant to abandon him, said a woman's voice, trembling and tired. I was only 16 when he was born. My parents threw me out of the house and I had no way to take care of a baby. Michael leaned against the wall, feeling his legs go weak. It really was his biological mother in there. Mrs. Margaret, I understand your situation, replied Jennifer, in a tone Michael had never heard from her before. But Michael has built a life. He has a company. He has responsibilities. Finding out about the past could destabilize everything. I don't want money, my dear. I've worked at the retirement home for 20 years. I have my small pension, but it's enough. I just want him to know that I thought of him every day, all these years. Michael pressed his forehead against the cold wall of the hallway. His mother was alive, not just alive, but had spent decades thinking of him, just as he had thought of her. You always hum a song when you're working in the office, said Jennifer, her voice softer. A lullaby, I never knew where it came from. Mountain Lullaby, replied Margaret immediately. I always sang it to put him to sleep. It's a song my grandmother taught me. Michael remembered the melody that always came to his mind in the quietest moments. That was exactly it, a simple, sweet lullaby he hummed without knowing why. Mrs. Margaret, Mr. Michael suffered a lot in his adolescence, questioning things about you. He even hired detectives to look for you, spent a fortune but never found anything. I changed my name after leaving my parents' house, explained Margaret. I became Margaret Walker instead of Margaret Johnson, and I lived in many different cities, always running from the shame. I only came back to New York when I was older. Michael remembered the frustrated investigations. For years, he had looked for Margaret Johnson, not knowing she had changed her last name. You need to understand, Jennifer. I'm not the same scared girl from decades ago. I raised 4 other children on my own, all grown up now. I know what it is to be a mother. I know what I lost when I gave Michael to the Richardsons. 4 other children. Michael had siblings. The revelation hit him like a bolt of lightning. He had always dreamed of having siblings, had always felt lonely being an only child. Do the other children know about Michael? Asked Jennifer. Yes, they do. They always knew they had an older brother. They grew up seeing me cry every October 12th, which is his birthday. They grew up seeing me save money every month so I could look for him one day. Michael had to lean against the wall. His mother saved money to look for him. All those years, she had been looking for him too. Mrs. Margaret, do you have pictures of the other children? Yes, I do. I brought them today to show you. This is James, he's a truck driver. This is Elizabeth Ann, a public school teacher. Robert William works in a mechanic's shop, and the youngest Sarah is finishing nursing school. Michael heard Jennifer sigh. His wife was looking at pictures of his siblings, whom he didn't even know existed. Do they want to meet Michael? Very much, but I said only if he wanted to. I won't force anything. I've already forced fate too much by managing to find out where he lives. How did you get our address? After I saw his picture in the newspaper, I started researching. I went to the records office where he married you, said I was a distant relative trying to reconnect. The clerk was very kind and gave me the address listed on the documents. Michael admired his mother's determination. Margaret had moved heaven and earth to find him, just as he had tried to find her years ago. "And why didn't you call or send a letter?" asked Jennifer. "I tried, my dear. I called his office several times, but they always said he was busy or traveling. I wrote 3 letters, but I never had the courage to send them. How do you explain in a letter that you abandoned a child?" Michael remembered Dorothy mentioning that sometimes calls came from people claiming to be distant relatives. He always instructed his secretaries not to put those calls through, thinking they were scammers after money. "Mrs. Margaret, I need you to understand something," said Jennifer, her voice firmer. "Michael is a sensitive man, despite all that thick businessman shell. If he finds out about you the wrong way, he might shut down completely. I know, my dear. That's why I agreed to come in secret. That's why I accept that you control when and how he finds out. I just can't bear to live without news of him any longer." Michael heard footsteps approaching the door. Quickly, he went back down the stairs, finding Dorothy still standing in the hall, nervous. "Dorothy, how long has this been going on?" 3 months, sir. Every Thursday she comes, spends 2 hours talking with Mrs. Jennifer, and then leaves. She always brings something, an old photo, a recipe she used to make when you were a baby, a piece of clothing she kept." "And Jennifer never told me anything?" "Mrs. Jennifer said she wanted to choose the right moment, that she wanted to prepare herself to tell you everything in a way that wouldn't hurt you." Michael walked to the living room window, looking out at the well-kept garden of his home. Everything there represented the stable life he had built, but now he discovered there was an entire part of his existence that had remained hidden. "Dorothy, this woman, Margaret, what is she like?" The housekeeper's face lit up for the first time that afternoon. "Oh, sir, she's just like you in her gestures. She has the same way of running her hand through her hair when she's nervous, the same habit of drumming her fingers when she's thinking. And her eyes, sir, her eyes are identical." Michael instinctively ran his hand through his hair. It was indeed a gesture he made when he was anxious. "Does she talk about me?" "All the time, sir. She says she remembers every detail from when you were a baby. Says you were born on the coldest day of the year, that you cried a lot the first month, but then became a very calm baby." Michael had been born in June, at the height of winter. His adoptive parents could never explain why he was always afraid of the cold, why he always needed extra blankets, even on mild days. "She also talks about your siblings, says they grew up hearing stories about the older brother, who would one day return home." "Dorothy, why are you telling me all this now?" the housekeeper sighed, taking off her apron and hanging it on the wall hook. "Because today is different, sir. Mrs. Margaret came earlier than usual and brought one of her children with her. James, the truck driver. He's passing through New York and wanted to see the house where his older brother lives." Michael felt his heart race. One of his brothers was there upstairs, just meters away. "Is he here now?" "Yes, sir. A handsome young man, strong, looks like you when you were younger. He brought gifts for the nephews he hasn't met yet, gifts for you." "What kind of gifts?" "A cassette tape with old songs your mother used to sing to her children, an album with photos of all the siblings growing up, and a letter that all of them wrote together." Michael needed to sit down. His whole life he had felt incomplete, as if a fundamental part of his identity was missing. Now he discovered that this part not only existed, but had been actively looking for him. "Dorothy, if Jennifer finds out I told you, she'll fire me on the spot," said the housekeeper, visibly worried. "No, she won't. I'll talk to her, but I need to first understand why she hid this from me." Voices approached the staircase. Michael heard footsteps coming down and quickly hid behind the living room curtain. Dorothy ran to the kitchen, pretending to be working. "Thank you so much for having me again, Jennifer," said Margaret's voice. "And thank you for letting James see his brother's house." "It was a pleasure, Mrs. Margaret. James is a very polite young man." Michael peeked through the curtain gap and saw a woman about 60 years old, with graying hair tied in a simple bun, wearing a floral blouse and a dark skirt. Next to her, a sturdy man of about 40, with features Michael immediately recognized. They were similar to his own. "Jennifer, When do you think we can tell Michael the truth? Asked Margaret, her voice tired. I still don't know, Mrs. Margaret. Michael is a very intense man. When something moves him deeply, he withdraws from everything and everyone for weeks. I don't want this to happen right now, when our company is closing the biggest contract in history. James spoke up for the first time. With all due respect, sister-in-law, but my mother has waited over 40 years to have a real conversation with my brother. I think he deserves to know. Michael was impressed by how naturally James called him brother and referred to Jennifer as sister-in-law. I understand, James, but you don't know Michael like I do. He's a man who feels everything very deeply. Discovering that his mother is alive and that he has siblings might make him question his entire life. Or it might finally make him feel complete, replied Margaret softly. Michael watched his biological mother walking around the room. She had his gestures, his posture, even his way of tilting his head slightly when thinking. Jennifer, I didn't come here to destroy your family, Margaret continued. I came to complete it. Michael was always my first child, even though I couldn't raise him, and you'll always be welcome in our family too. Our family? Asked Jennifer. James has 3 beautiful children. Elizabeth Ann has 12-year-old twins. Robert William just got married and is expecting his first baby. And Sarah is dating a very nice young man who knows the whole story and wants to meet Michael too. Michael discovered he not only had siblings but nephews and a niece on the way, an entire family that grew up knowing about his existence, while he never knew about theirs. Mrs. Margaret, it's not that I don't want Michael to know, explained Jennifer. It's that I'm afraid of how he'll react when he finds out that I've known for 3 months and didn't say anything. Jennifer, every mother protects her children the way she thinks best, said Margaret, gently touching her daughter-in-law's arm. You did what you thought was right. Now we need to do what's necessary. James walked over to the window, exactly where Michael had been standing minutes before. Mom, maybe it's time to be direct. Michael seems like an intelligent and fair man from what Jennifer says. If we explain everything properly, he'll understand. James is right, Margaret agreed. We've hidden it for too long, and I'm already 62. I don't know how much time I have left to make up for lost time. Jennifer walked to the dresser, where she kept some photo albums. Michael saw her take out an album he had never seen before. Mrs. Margaret, I want to show you something. Jennifer opened the album to a specific page. Michael could see, even from a distance, that they were photos of him as a child. Look, Mrs. Margaret, Michael at 5 years old, on his first day of school. See how he holds the backpack? Exactly the same way you hold your purse? Margaret took the photo with trembling hands. My goodness, he was already so big in this photo. I missed all that. You didn't miss it, Mrs. Margaret. Michael says he remembers some things from early childhood. He remembers a woman who sang to him, remembers a warm lap, remembers the smell of cornbread. Michael did remember. Throughout his life, the smell of cornbread made him inexplicably emotional, as if it awakened a very old and good memory. I used to make cornbread every Sunday, murmured Margaret with tears in her eyes. It was the only sweet thing I could make with the little money I had. Do you still make it? Asked Jennifer. Yes, I do. Every time I miss him, I make cornbread. My other children already know. When Sunday comes and there's cornbread on the table, it's because Mom is thinking about Michael. James approached his mother and hugged her. Mom, you've suffered too much already. Let's go downstairs and tell Michael everything. He's not home, said Jennifer quickly. He won't be back until late afternoon. Michael realized his wife was buying time, probably hoping that Margaret and James would leave before he arrived. Jennifer, said Margaret firmly, I came here today to say goodbye. Goodbye? Jennifer seemed alarmed. That's right. If by the end of next week Michael doesn't know about me, I'll stop coming here. It's not fair to any of us to continue with this situation. Michael felt panic. His mother was ready to give up trying to reconnect with him. Mrs. Margaret, please don't make a decision like that, begged Jennifer. I've already decided, my dear. My other children are right. If Michael is a good man like you say, he'll understand our situation. If he isn't capable of understanding, then maybe it's better that he doesn't know us after all. James supported his mother's decision. Jennifer, My brother deserves to have a choice. You're deciding for him, and that's not right. Michael decided he couldn't stay hidden any longer. He went down the stairs quietly and found Dorothy in the kitchen, nervously fiddling with some dishes. "Dorothy, I need you to do something for me." "Anything, sir." "I want you to go up there and tell Jennifer that I've arrived, but don't tell her I overheard the conversation. I'm going to pretend I just got home from work." "But sir..." "Dorothy, trust me. I know how to handle this." The housekeeper went up the stairs with heavy steps, clearly nervous. Michael heard her knock on the bedroom door. "Mrs. Jennifer, your Michael is here. He's downstairs." The silence that followed was tense. Michael heard urgent murmurs, hurried footsteps, and then Jennifer's voice. "Dorothy, take Mrs. Margaret and James out through the back stairs. They can leave through the service gate." "No," said Margaret's firm voice. "No more hiding. I've already lost 40 years of my son's life. I won't lose another minute." Michael heard determined footsteps coming down the main staircase. Quickly, he positioned himself in the living room, pretending he had just arrived and was taking off his jacket. Margaret appeared first, followed by James and a visibly nervous Jennifer. Michael looked at his biological mother, and she looked back at him. Time stood still. "Michael," said Margaret, her voice choked up, "I am your mother." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video, and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Michael couldn't speak for several seconds. All the words he had imagined saying at this moment, if it ever happened, vanished from his mind. I always knew you existed," was all he could finally say. Margaret approached slowly, as if approaching a wounded animal that might run away at any moment. "My son, I never wanted to abandon you. I was very young, very scared, with no money, no family to support me." "I know," replied Michael, surprising everyone, including himself. "I always imagined it was something like that." James took a step forward. "Michael, I'm James, your brother. I'm very happy to meet you." Michael looked at James, seeing his own features in him, but shaped by a completely different life. James had calloused hands, sun-tanned skin, and an easy smile in his eyes. "Do I have more brothers and sisters?" asked Michael. "3," replied Margaret. "Elizabeth Ann, Robert William, and Sarah. They all really want to meet you." Michael looked at Jennifer, who was leaning against the wall, visibly tense. "Jen, did you know about all this?" "Michael, I can explain." "You don't need to explain now," said Michael, surprising everyone again. "I know you did what you thought was best for me." Margaret began to cry. "My son, I thought about you every single day. Every day I wondered if you were okay, if you were happy, if you had become a good man." "And he has," said James, looking proudly at Michael. "Mother always said that when we found you, we'd discover you'd become a good man." Michael approached Margaret, observing every detail of her face. There really were undeniable similarities. "May I hug you?" asked Margaret in a small voice. Michael didn't answer with words. He simply opened his arms, and Margaret threw herself into them, crying like a child. James approached and also hugged them both, creating a moment Michael never imagined he would experience. "Mother, can you tell me how it happened? How I was born? Why you had to give me up?" Margaret pulled back a little, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Let's sit down, my son. It's a long story, and I want to tell it all properly." Jennifer, still nervous, offered coffee to everyone. Dorothy appeared in the living room, unsure if she should stay or leave. "Dorothy, you sit here with us too," said Michael. "You're also part of this story." Everyone settled into the living room that Michael knew so well, but which now seemed completely different, with the presence of these new family members. "Michael, when I got pregnant with you, I had just turned 16, began Margaret. "Your father was a construction worker who worked near my parents' house. We fell madly in love." "What happened to him?" asked Michael. "He passed away in a work accident 3 months before you were born. He never even knew he was going to be a father." Michael felt a pang in his chest. His biological father had died without even knowing of his existence. "When my parents found out I was pregnant, they threw me out of the house. They said I had dishonored the family, that I was a disgrace to everyone." "How did you survive?" asked Jennifer, genuinely interested. I went to live with a distant aunt in Jersey City. She helped me during the pregnancy, but she also couldn't support me with a baby. I worked washing clothes for other people. I earned very little. James added to the story. Mother always says that when Michael was born, she spent 3 whole days unable to stop looking at him. She didn't want to give him to anyone. But there was no way to keep him, continued Margaret. I didn't even have money to buy diapers. The aunt who took me in said she knew a good family, who couldn't have children and would take very good care of you. The Richardsons, said Michael. That's right, I met them before I gave you to them. They were good people, had a nice house, financial stability. They promised you would go to school, that you would have everything I couldn't give you. Michael remembered his adoptive parents fondly. They really had kept their promise, giving him an education, love, and opportunities. But I set one condition, continued Margaret. I asked them to keep some photos of you, in case one day either you or I wanted to find each other. They kept them, confirmed Michael. I still have those photos today. Margaret smiled through her tears. I knew they were people of their word. Mother, tell Michael about the following years, encouraged James. After I gave you up, I spent 2 years unable to be with anyone. I couldn't stop thinking about you until I met William, your sibling's father. Did William know about me? Yes, he did. I told him everything right at the beginning of our relationship. He said that one day we would look for you, that you would be part of our family. And what happened to William? Asked Jennifer. James answered for Margaret. Our father passed away 5 years ago from a heart attack. But until the end of his life, every week he asked if we had any news about Michael. Michael was moved, knowing there was a man who considered him a son without ever having met him. Your siblings grew up knowing they had an older brother, continued Margaret. I always made it clear that one day we would be reunited. That's why they call you brother so naturally. What did you imagine I would be like? Asked Michael, curious. James laughed. Mom always said you'd be tall, elegant, and smart. That you'd have a beautiful smile and be successful in life. She got everything right, said Jennifer, speaking for the first time since the introductions were made. Jennifer, I'd like to apologize, said Margaret, looking directly at her daughter-in-law. I know I put you in a very difficult situation by showing up here unannounced. You don't need to apologize, Mrs. Margaret. I should have told Michael from day one. Michael held Jennifer's hand. Jen, why didn't you tell me? Jennifer looked at the floor, clearly embarrassed. Because I'm afraid of losing you, Michael. You've always been so intense about your origins. I thought if you found out about your mother and siblings, you'd want to spend all your time with them and drift away from me. Jen, that's nonsense. Family doesn't replace family. Family adds to it. Margaret stood up and approached Jennifer. My dear, I didn't come here to take Michael from you. I came to gain a daughter-in-law I already love very much, simply because you've taken such good care of my firstborn. Jennifer began to cry, and Margaret hugged her as if she were her own daughter. Mrs. Margaret, I feel so guilty for hiding this from him. You did what a loving wife would do. You protected your husband the best way you knew how. Now let's all work together to make things right. Dorothy, who had remained silent, spoke up. Can I say something? Of course, Dorothy, said Michael. Sir, Mrs. Margaret always brings cakes when she comes here. Cornmeal cake, coconut candy, cornbread. I keep them in the kitchen fridge and then take them to my family. But every time you pass by the kitchen and smell them, you get a different smile on your face. Michael laughed for the first time since he had arrived home. It's true. I always felt good when I smelled those scents, but I never knew why. Because they were the scents of your childhood, explained Margaret. The same sweets I made for you when you were a baby. James pulled out a bag he had brought. Michael, I brought some things for you. Things Mom saved all these years. Michael opened the bag with trembling hands. Inside was a tiny shoe, a very old blue pacifier, and a crocheted blanket yellowed with time. I made this blanket when I was pregnant with you, said Margaret. It took me months to finish because I didn't know how to crochet properly, but I wanted you to have something made by my hands. Michael hugged the blanket and immediately felt a familiar scent, very faint but present. It still has your baby smell stored in there, said Margaret, smiling. I always kept it in a plastic bag to preserve it. "Margaret, can I ask you something?" said Michael. "You can ask anything, my son. Why did you never remarry after William passed away?" "Because I had my children to raise, and because a part of my heart was always with you. It wouldn't have been fair to another man." James complimented his mother's answer. "Michael, you need to know our mum became a legend in our neighborhood. All the single mothers in the area seek her out when they need advice. She became a kind of unofficial counselor for women going through hard times." "How so?" asked Jennifer. "Mum helps girls who get pregnant young, helps women who become widows young, helps mothers raising children alone. The whole neighborhood respects her," explained James. Michael felt proud of a woman he had just met. "Margaret, you turned your pain into help for others. I learned that suffering alone doesn't help anyone. Better to use the suffering to help those going through the same thing." Dorothy spoke up again. "Sir, can I tell you something about Mrs. Margaret that might interest you?" "Of course, Dorothy. On the days she comes here, she always brings treats for me to take home. She always asks about my grandchildren if they need anything. Last week she brought notebooks and pencils for them, without me even asking." Michael looked at Margaret with growing admiration. "You take care of everyone, don't you?" "It's just that I know what it's like to be in need and have no one to help," Margaret replied simply. Jennifer stood up and went to the window, visibly moved. "Mrs. Margaret, I need to confess something." "What is it, my dear?" "I also grew up without knowing my biological mother. I was raised by my grandmother. That's why I understood your pain from the first day you showed up here." Michael looked surprised at Jennifer. She had never shared this detail so clearly. "Why did you never tell me this properly, Jen?" "Because it hurts too much to talk about it. And because when I saw Mrs. Margaret suffering for the same reason I suffered, I didn't know how to handle it." Margaret approached Jennifer and held her hands. "My dear, where is your mother now?" "I don't know. I never managed to find her. The difference is that she abandoned me by choice, not out of necessity like you did with Michael. Even so, you must have felt the same absence that Michael felt." "I did. And maybe that's why I was so afraid of you two meeting. Afraid that Michael would find with you what I never managed to find with mine." Michael finally understood why Jennifer had hidden Margaret. It wasn't just protection. It was fear that he would find something she never had. "Jen, finding my mother won't change anything between us. It will only add to it." James, who had been observing the whole interaction, spoke up. "Michael, can I give you some brotherly advice?" "Go ahead. Don't let the past dominate the present. Mum suffered a lot. Jennifer suffered a lot. You suffered a lot. Now it's time to build something good together." Michael admired James's simple wisdom. Despite the difference in formal education between them, his brother had a deep understanding of life. "James, tell me about our other siblings. Elizabeth Ann has been a public school teacher for 15 years. She's going to go crazy when she finds out she met you. She always said you were going to be someone important, that she felt it in her heart." "And Robert William?" "William is a mechanic. He has a small but prosperous shop. He's a very honest guy, works really hard. His wife is 7 months pregnant." "And the youngest?" "Sarah is finishing nursing school. She's the most studious of all of us. She always said that when she met you, she'd have someone in the family who understood the importance of education." Michael smiled. "She's right. I would love to meet everyone." Margaret perked up immediately. "Really, my son? You want to meet your siblings?" "Very much. But I want to do it right. I want Jennifer to be part of everything. I want it to be a good thing for everyone." Jennifer approached the group. "Michael, are you sure you won't regret this? Jen, I've looked for this woman my whole life. Now that she's appeared, it would be stupid not to take advantage of it." Margaret took Michael's hand and Jennifer's hand. "My children, I don't want to cause problems for anyone. If at any point this becomes too heavy, I'll step away. I don't want to destroy the beautiful family you've built." "You're not going to destroy anything," said Jennifer, finally relaxing. "You're going to complete it." James broke into a wide smile. "So can I tell the other siblings that Michael wants to meet everyone?" "Yes, you can," replied Michael, "but I want to do it gradually. I want to learn each one's story. I want to understand how you all grew up." Margaret began to tell him about the other children, and Michael realized that each of them had traits he recognized in himself. Elizabeth Ann had his stubbornness and determination. Robert William had his skill with his hands and love for a job well done. Sarah had her thirst for knowledge and desire to help others. "Mum, how did you manage to raise 4 children alone?" asked Michael. "By working hard and counting on the neighbors' help. The neighborhood where we lived was always supportive. When I needed to work at night, the neighbors would look after the children. When the children got sick, everyone would help." "And do they know you were looking for me?" "They know, and they always supported me. Many times they used their own money to help me pay detectives or to travel following leads about you." Michael was touched, knowing that siblings he didn't even know had sacrificed things to help their mother search for him. "Margaret, may I ask where you live now?" "I live in a small house in Yonkers near my children. It's not much, but it's ours." Michael looked at Jennifer, and she immediately understood what he was thinking. "Mrs. Margaret, would you like to come live closer to us?" asked Jennifer. "No, my dear. I have my life there, my friends, my work at St. Vincent's retirement home. I don't want to change everything now at my age." "But would you accept if we visited more often?" asked Michael. "I would accept with the greatest pleasure in the world." James stood up. "Michael, how about you come have dinner at our house next Sunday? Mum makes a wonderful free-range chicken." "And would you accept coming to dinner here next Friday?" proposed Michael. "I accept," replied Margaret immediately, "but only if I can bring dessert. I want to make that cornmeal cake whose smell you remembered from our home." Dorothy laughed. "Mrs. Margaret, Mr. Michael is going to be so moved. He loves cornmeal cake, but never understood why." "Now he'll understand," said Margaret, smiling. The conversation was interrupted when James's cell phone rang. "It's Elizabeth Ann," he said, answering. "Hi, sis. I'm here at Michael's house." "That's right. I met him today. Want to talk to him?" James handed the phone to Michael. "Want to talk to your sister?" Michael took the phone with trembling hands. "Hello? Michael?" The voice on the other end was emotional. "My God, is it really you?" "It's me, Elizabeth Ann." "Oh, my brother, I can't believe I'm talking to you. Is Mom there?" "Yes, she is. Put her on the phone, please." Michael passed the phone to Margaret. "Hello, daughter." "Yes, everything's fine. He's handsome, Elizabeth Ann, just like I imagined. Yes, he wants to meet you all. Sunday? Yes, he'll be there." Margaret hung up the phone with a huge smile. Elizabeth Ann is crying with joy. She said she's going to call Robert William and Sarah right now. "How will they react?" asked Michael. "They'll be emotional," replied James. "Michael, you have no idea how close we are. Every Sunday we have lunch together at Mom's house. Every birthday, every Christmas, every important date, we're all there. And now you'll be there too," said Margaret, squeezing her son's hand. Michael looked around the room, seeing his family life expand in a way he never imagined possible. "Dorothy, thank you so much for telling me the truth today." "Sir, I only did what I thought was right. I couldn't stand seeing Mrs. Margaret suffering and you not knowing anything. You risked losing your job for me." "Sir, there are things more important than a job. Family is one of them." Jennifer approached Dorothy. "Dorothy, forgive me for putting you in that difficult situation. It wasn't fair of me." "You're forgiven, Mrs. Jennifer. You were only protecting your family." Michael realized that Dorothy had become a bridge between two worlds, helping to reunite a family without any self-interest. "Dorothy, from now on, every Thursday, you can tell Margaret that she can come here even if I'm home." "Sir." "Mrs. Margaret doesn't just come on Thursday, she also comes every 12th, which is your monthly birthday." "What do you mean?" asked Michael. Margaret felt embarrassed. "My son, I know it might sound silly, but on the 12th of every month I come to your street. I stand on the other side of the square just looking at your house, imagining how you're doing." Michael was moved to learn that his mother passed near his house every month. "And I never saw you. I was careful not to be seen. I didn't want to bother, I just wanted to feel close to you," James added to the information. "Michael, Mom has a whole album of your photos that she took from afar. Pictures of you leaving the house, getting in the car, in the garden with Jennifer." Michael was impressed with Margaret's dedication. "Do you have those photos here?" Margaret opened her old fabric purse and took out a small album. Yes, I do. Look, this one is of you mowing the lawn last month. This one is of you and Jennifer arriving from your trip to Aspen. Michael flipped through the album, seeing dozens of photos of himself taken from a distance over the past few months. In all of them, he looked happy and carefree. Mom, you're a detective, Michael joked. When you love someone, you learn to be many things, replied Margaret. Jennifer looked at the photos with interest. Mrs. Margaret, you know our routine better than some of our friends. It's just that I wanted to understand what my son's life was like, if he was happy, if he had a good wife, if he was well taken care of. And what was your conclusion? Asked Michael. My conclusion is that you have a wonderful wife who loves you very much, a beautiful house, and that you smile often. It was all I wanted to know. Michael hugged Margaret once again. Mom, I want you to know that I am happy too, and now I'm going to be even happier. James looked at his watch. Michael, I need to go. I have to go back to Buffalo today still, but can I give you my phone number? Of course, and I want the phone numbers of all our siblings. James wrote down all the numbers on a piece of paper, along with the addresses. Michael, one important thing. Our siblings are simple people. Don't be surprised if they're a bit shy at first. Why would they be shy? Because you're a billionaire, brother. To them, that's almost like you're a celebrity. Michael laughed. James, billionaire is just a number in the bank. At home, I'm just Michael. I know that, but they'll need some time to get used to it. Margaret stood up, organizing her things. Michael, I need to go too. I have my shift at St. Vincent's retirement home tonight. Mom, don't go. Stay for dinner. Dorothy will prepare something delicious for us. Margaret looked at Jennifer, asking for permission. Of course you can stay, Mrs. Margaret. It would be an honor. Then it's settled, but only if I can help Dorothy in the kitchen. I don't like to sit idle. Dorothy perked up. Mrs. Margaret, can you teach me how to make that coconut candy you brought last week? Mr. Michael asked twice where it came from. I'll teach you. It's my grandmother's recipe. While Margaret and Dorothy went to the kitchen, Michael, Jennifer, and James stayed in the living room in a comfortable silence. James, can I ask you a personal question? Go ahead. How did you all manage to get over the fact that I had an easier life than you? James thought for a moment before answering. Michael, our mother always explained that each child has their own destiny. You had the opportunity to study and grow financially. We had the opportunity to grow up alongside her. Both sides lost and gained things. But you don't feel angry with me. Angry? James laughed. Brother, we feel proud. When we see your name in the newspaper, associated with good things, we feel proud. You are our older brother. You represent our family in the world. Jennifer was moved by the answer. James, you and your siblings are very special people. We are Margaret's children, James replied simply. She taught us that love doesn't divide, it multiplies. Michael felt a wave of emotion. He had found not just a mother, but an entire family who loved him without even really knowing him. James, do you think our siblings will accept me for who I am? Michael, you're talking to someone who spent 40 years hearing stories about you. To us, you're not the billionaire Michael Richardson. You're Mike, our older brother who Mum always said would come home. Mike? Asked Michael, smiling. That's what Mum called you when you were a baby. To her, you've always been Mike, not Michael. Michael was pleased to learn he had a family nickname he never knew about. From the kitchen came familiar aromas and the sound of Margaret and Dorothy chatting animatedly. Michael noticed his mother had a gift for making people feel at ease. James, are our siblings married? Do they have children? Elizabeth Ann has been married to David for 12 years. They have twins, Emily and Olivia, who are 12. Robert William married Amanda 2 years ago, and she's pregnant. And Sarah has been dating Matthew for 3 years. How do you think my nieces will receive me? The twins already know all about you. They have an album with every newspaper article that mentions you. They call you Uncle Michael, even without knowing you. Michael was touched to learn he had nieces who collected news about him. And what are they like? They're two very smart girls. Emily wants to be a lawyer like you studied to be. Olivia wants to be a businesswoman. They say they got their intelligence from their older uncle. Jennifer smiled. Michael did study law, but ended up becoming a businessman. The girls are right. James, and your parents, the parents who raised you, how will they receive Michael? Asked Jennifer. Jennifer, our father William always said Michael was his son too, even without having met him. He passed 5 years ago, but always said that when Michael came home, he'd gain not just a mother, but a whole family. Michael was moved to know there was a man who considered him a son, even without ever seeing him. And your mother, William's wife? No, Jennifer. William was a widower when he met our mother. He had a previous marriage, but his wife passed young from cancer. That's why he understood so well our mother's pain at losing Michael. The story kept getting more touching. Michael realized he had found a family forged by pain, but united by love. Margaret returned from the kitchen, with Dorothy's apron tied around her waist. My son, can I tell you something? You can tell me everything, Mom. All these years I saved money to look for you. I saved almost $15,000, penny by penny. It was to pay for lawyers or detectives if necessary. And what happened to that money? It's saved in an account. It was meant to be used to find you, but now that I've found you, I don't know what to do with it. Michael exchanged a look with Jennifer, and she nodded positively. Mom, how about using that money to bring the whole family together, to organize a party where I can properly meet all my siblings? Margaret lit up. You would do that? I'd do it with the greatest pleasure. I want to meet my siblings, my sisters-in-law, my nieces. I want to recover everything I lost. James was moved. Michael, you don't know the happiness you'll bring to our family. Mom will finally be able to sleep peacefully, knowing all her children are united. Dorothy appeared in the living room. Mr. Michael, Mrs. Margaret is teaching me how to make chicken croquettes the way you liked them when you were little. She remembers every dish you ate. It's true, my son, said Margaret. You loved chicken croquettes, peanut candy, and condensed milk pudding. They were your favorites. Michael laughed. They still are my favorites. Jennifer always finds it strange when I order these things at restaurants. Now I understand where that taste comes from, said Jennifer. Margaret went to her purse and took out an old notebook. Michael, I have all the recipes I used to make for you when you were a baby here. Recipes for baby food, vitamins, simple sweets. I kept everything. Michael flipped through the notebook, seeing his mother's careful handwriting with detailed notes about his food preferences as a child. Mom, you're amazing. You kept details that not even the Richardsons remembered. That's because a mother doesn't forget, my son. A mother keeps everything in her heart. Jennifer approached Margaret. Mrs. Margaret, can I confess something? You may, my dear. I was always afraid of not being a good wife for Michael because I never really understood what it was like to be raised by a mother. But seeing you, I understand that being a mother is exactly what you're doing, loving unconditionally. Margaret hugged Jennifer. My dear, you're an excellent wife. I see it in the way Michael talks about you, in the way he smiles when he's by your side. You observed all that from afar? Asked Jennifer. I did. And I also asked Dorothy. She always said you were a happy couple, that you respected each other, that you took care of each other. That's what I wanted to know. Dorothy returned from the kitchen. Mrs. Margaret, can I say something? You may, Dorothy. You've transformed this house. Ever since you started coming here, Mrs. Jennifer has been happier, and Mr. Michael, even without knowing why, has also been more cheerful on Thursdays. How so? Asked Michael. Sir, every Thursday afternoon when the lady comes, there's a lovely atmosphere in the house. Mrs. Jennifer becomes more affectionate. I get more excited knowing Mrs. Margaret is here, and when you return from your trips, you always comment that the house has good vibes. Michael realized his mother's presence was already positively influencing his family, even without him knowing. Margaret, would you like to see the rest of the house? Offered Michael. I would, my son. Michael led Margaret through the rooms of the mansion. She observed everything with genuine interest, but without showing envy or greed. What a beautiful house you have. You can tell it's a happy home. How do you know that? By the way things are organized. There's care in the details, there's life in the objects. It's not just an expensive house, it's truly a home. Michael showed her his office, full of books and graduation pictures. "My son, may I borrow one of these books?" asked Margaret, pointing to a shelf. "You may take whatever you want, but which books interest you?" "These business administration ones. I want to better understand what you do, how you think." Michael was touched. His mother wanted to know him professionally too, not just as a son. "Mom, can I tell you about my work?" "I want to know everything, Michael." Michael spent the next hour explaining his business to Margaret, who asked smart questions and showed genuine interest. James also participated in the conversation, showing that despite limited formal education, he had a practical understanding of how business worked. "Michael, have you ever thought about investing in social projects in our neighborhood?" asked James. "How so?" "Back in Yonkers, there are many people with good ideas, but no money to put them into practice. There's a guy who wants to open a bakery, a woman who wants to start a sewing business, a young man who wants to open an internet cafe." Michael immediately became interested. "James, do you think I could talk to these people?" "I think so, but it has to be without showing off, you understand. Folks there are humble, but they're hardworking." Margaret smiled, seeing her two sons talking about projects. "Michael, you always had a calling for helping others. When you were a baby, every time you saw someone crying, you would cry too. It seemed like you felt other people's pain." "I'm still like that," confessed Michael. "I can't see injustice without wanting to do something about it." "You take after me," said Margaret proudly. Jennifer, who had been watching the interaction, approached. "Mrs. Margaret, I want to propose something." "What is it, dear?" "How about we organize a lunch here next Sunday for Michael to meet the whole family? I'll cook for everyone myself." Margaret was moved. "Jennifer, would you really do that?" "I'd do it with the greatest pleasure. I want to meet my brothers and sisters-in-law and my nieces and nephews too." Michael hugged Jennifer. "Jen, you're amazing." "Michael, it took me a while to understand, but now I know that gaining a family is always a blessing." James got ready to leave, but first hugged Michael for a long time. "Brother, thank you for welcoming me so warmly. James, thank you for coming. Thank you for having a mother like ours. Michael, can I give you one last piece of advice?" "Go ahead." "Don't try to make up for lost time all at once. Take it one day at a time. Get to know the family little by little. We have time now." Michael understood the wisdom of the advice. He wanted so badly to recover 40 lost years that he might end up rushing things. "You're right, James. Let's take it slow." "And Michael, one last thing. Our mother is a bit stubborn. If she wants to do something for you, let her do it. It's her way of showing love." Margaret laughed from the kitchen. "I heard that, James. Not stubborn, determined." Everyone laughed, and Michael realized that this was the feeling he had always been looking for, the feeling of belonging to a large, warm family. James said goodbye to everyone and left, leaving Michael, Jennifer, and Margaret together. Dorothy had prepared a simple dinner, but one full of affection. During dinner, Margaret told stories about the childhood of her other children, and Michael began to notice similarities and differences between them. He discovered that Elizabeth Ann had his stubbornness, that Robert William had his knack for solving practical problems, and that Sarah had his thirst for knowledge. "Mom, how did you manage to get them all to graduate or find good jobs?" "By demanding a lot of studying and a lot of work. From a young age, they all knew that education was the only inheritance I could leave them, and they all studied. All of them. Elizabeth Ann graduated in education. Robert William got a technical degree in mechanics. Sarah is finishing nursing school. James didn't want to go to college, but he took several professional driver courses." Michael was impressed. Margaret had managed to educate 4 children alone with limited resources, and they had all become hard-working, honest people. "Mom, you are a warrior." "No, my son. I just did what any mother does, the possible and the impossible for her children." After dinner, Margaret got ready to leave. Michael didn't want to let her go. "Mom, are you sure you don't want to sleep here tonight?" "I'm sure, my son. I want to go home and tell your brothers and sisters what it was like to meet you. They're anxiously waiting. Then at least let me drive you home." "No need, Michael. James left his car for me. I do know how to drive." Michael laughed. Of course you do. You raised 4 children alone. You must know how to do everything. Margaret hugged Michael for a long time before saying goodbye. My son, thank you for welcoming me so warmly. Thank you for not being angry with me. Mom, how could I be angry with the woman who gave me life? Michael, can I come here again? You can come whenever you want. This house is yours now too. Margaret said goodbye to Jennifer with a tight hug. Jennifer, thank you for taking such good care of my son all these years. Mrs. Margaret, thank you for giving me the most wonderful man in the world. Dorothy also said goodbye to Margaret affectionately. Mrs. Margaret, will you be back next Thursday? I will, Dorothy. But now it doesn't need to be a secret anymore. After Margaret left, Michael, Jennifer, and Dorothy stayed in the living room, processing everything that had happened. Michael, you're not angry with me for hiding this, are you? Asked Jennifer. Jen, at first I was a bit upset, but I understand why you did it. You know me, you know I get too intense about some things. I was afraid you'd fall in love with the idea of having a biological family and forget about the family we built together. Jen, that would never happen. You're the woman of my life. Finding my mother only makes me love you more because I see that you protected me even from what could have been good for me. Dorothy stood up to leave. Mr. Richardson, may I say something? Always, Dorothy. You'll see that Mrs. Margaret is a very special person. She has a heart as big as the world, and your siblings are hard-working and honest people. You'll be proud of the family you have. I'm already proud, Dorothy. And sir, one important thing. Mrs. Margaret never asked anything from anyone. Not from me, not from Mrs. Jennifer. She only wants love. She only wants family. Robert hugged Dorothy. Dorothy, thank you for being the bridge between me and my mother. Thank you for risking your job to tell me the truth. Sir, family is sacred. I couldn't let you remain separated. After Dorothy left, Robert and Jennifer were alone for the first time since the afternoon had turned upside down. Jen, what was it like for you to meet my mother for the first time? Robert, it was exciting and scary at the same time. The minute I saw her, I knew she was your mother. You're identical in many details. And why did you decide to hide it from me? Because I saw how desperate she was to meet you, and I was afraid you'd become emotionally overwhelmed. You've always been very sensitive when it comes to your origins. Robert understood that Jennifer had, in fact, tried to protect him. Jen, next time something like this happens, tell me right away. I'd rather experience the emotions than be protected from them. Okay, I promise. And Jen, thank you for welcoming my mother with such warmth. You could have been cold or hostile. Robert, the minute I saw her holding your baby picture and crying, I understood she truly loved you. I couldn't be hostile to a mother who loves her son. Robert hugged Jennifer, feeling more in love with her than ever. Jen, do you want to be part of this process of getting to know my family? I really do, Robert. I want to meet my brothers and sisters-in-law. I want to be an aunt to your nieces. I want to be part of this family too. Then let's go together. We'll build a big, happy family. That night, Robert could barely sleep. His mind was full of images, conversations, possibilities. For the first time in his life, he had answers to questions that had followed him since childhood. The next morning, Robert called James. James, it's me, Robert. Hi, brother. How are you? I'm good. I've been thinking all night about our conversation yesterday. And what did you decide? That I want to meet our siblings as soon as possible. How about if I come there to Yonkers this afternoon? Really? You'd come here? Of course. I want to see the house where you grew up. I want to see the neighborhood. I want to understand what your life was like. James was silent for a few seconds. Robert, are you sure? Our neighborhood is very simple, very different from what you're used to. James, I want to know my family. I don't care where you live. Then it's settled. I'll call Elizabeth Ann and Robert William. They can come to Mom's house this afternoon. And Sarah? Sarah is at her internship at the hospital, but she should be able to get away for a few hours. Robert hung up excited and went to tell Jennifer. Jen, I'm going to visit my family this afternoon. Do you want to come with me? Yes, I do, but Robert, let's take it slow. Don't get there wanting to solve everyone's lives all at once. You're right, I'll just get to know them, just spend time with them. And Robert, Bring some photos of us to show them. They also want to know about our lives. Michael set aside an album with photos from the wedding, the trips he had taken with Jennifer, and of the house. He wanted to show his family that he had built a happy life. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. During lunch, Michael was as anxious as a child on Christmas Day. Jen, do you think they'll like me? Michael, they already love you. James made that very clear yesterday. But what if I don't know how to act? What if I'm too formal? What if they think I feel superior? Michael, just be yourself. Be the caring man I met and fell in love with. You're right, I'll be natural. I'll be. At 2 in the afternoon, Michael and Jennifer set off for Yonkers. Along the way, Michael felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. Jen, I'm nervous. It's normal. You're meeting your family after 40 years. What if they don't like me? Impossible, Michael. You're a good, caring, generous person. They're going to love you. When they arrived in the neighborhood, Michael was impressed. It was a working-class area, but well kept. The houses were simple, but with flower gardens and a sense that they were happy homes. This is it, said Michael, checking the address James had given him. The house was small, painted light blue, with a front porch full of plants. On the gate, there was a handwritten sign, Walker Family. Michael rang the doorbell and immediately heard excited voices inside. They're here, someone shouted. The door opened and Margaret appeared, wearing a floral dress and an apron over it. My son, what a joy to see you here. Michael hugged Margaret, smelling the cornbread cake coming from the house. Mom, did you make cornbread cake? Yes, I did. And coconut candy and cornbread and pudding. I want you to try everything. Mrs. Margaret, you didn't have to go to all this trouble, said Jennifer. It's no trouble, it's a pleasure. It's been 40 years since I've cooked for Michael. Margaret led Michael and Jennifer into the house. The living room was small but cozy, full of photos and plants. Michael, these are your siblings, said Margaret, introducing 3 people who were waiting in the living room. Elizabeth Ann stood up first. She was a woman of about 35, with dark hair, a wide smile, and bright eyes. Michael, my big brother, she said, running to hug him. Michael hugged her, immediately feeling a special connection. Elizabeth Ann, it's a pleasure to meet you. Michael, I've dreamed of this day since I was a little girl. Mum always said that one day you would come back home. Robert William approached next. He was a man of about 30, tall and strong, with hands calloused from work. Brother, welcome to our home, said William, shaking Michael's hand firmly. William, thank you for having me. Michael, Mum says you were always very smart. I want to learn a few things from you. Finally, Sarah approached. She was a young woman of about 25, with her hair tied back and in a nursing uniform. Michael, I just got off from the hospital to meet you, she said, hugging him. I wouldn't miss this moment for anything. Sarah, which hospital do you work at? At Yonkers Community Hospital. I'm in my last semester of college, doing an internship in pediatrics. Michael was impressed. Sarah worked with children, just as he had always had an affinity for social projects focused on childhood. Sarah, I have a foundation that helps public hospitals. Can we talk about that? Really? Her eyes lit up. That would be amazing. Elizabeth Ann called 2 girls who were playing in the backyard. Emily, Olivia, come meet Uncle Michael. 2 identical girls, about 12 years old, came running into the living room. Uncle Michael! They both shouted at the same time, throwing themselves into his arms. Michael embraced them, moved to finally meet his nieces. Emily and Olivia, you're beautiful, just like your mother. Uncle Mike, is it true you have a huge company? Asked Emily. Yes, it's true. And is it true you help a children's hospital? Asked Olivia. That's true too. Then you're just like Grandma always said Emily. A good man who uses his money to help others. Michael looked at Margaret, surprised. Mum, you said that about me. Always, my son. I was certain you had become a good man. How were you certain? Because you were born with a good heart. Babies born with good hearts become good adults. even if they grow up far from their mother. The twins took Michael to see the house. It was small, but every room was full of affection and memories. "Uncle Mike, this is Grandma's room," said Olivia, opening a door. Michael entered and saw a simple bed, an old dresser, and an entire wall covered in photos. To his surprise, many of the photos were of him. "Grandma cut out all the news about you from the newspapers," explained Emily. "There's a whole folder." Margaret appeared behind them, slightly embarrassed. "Michael, I know it might seem excessive." "It doesn't seem excessive, Mom. It seems like love." Michael examined the photos on the wall. There were news clippings about his company, photos of events he had attended, even a photo of him and Jennifer in the society pages. "Mom, you've been following my life through the newspapers?" "I follow everything, my son. It was the only way I had to know about you." "And when you read bad news about businessmen, did you worry?" "I worried a lot. I always prayed you wouldn't get into trouble, that you would remain honest." Michael hugged Margaret again. "Mom, you don't need to worry. I learned to be honest from the parents who raised me, and I never forgot that lesson." "I know that, my son. I always knew you would turn out right." Elizabeth Ann called Michael to the kitchen. "Michael, do you want to see where Mom makes those sweets that Dorothy takes to you?" The kitchen was small, but very well organized. There was a wooden table where Margaret evidently spent a lot of time cooking. "Michael, Mom wakes up every Sunday at 5 in the morning to make sweets for the whole family," Elizabeth Ann told him. 5 in the morning? "That's right. She says cooking with love takes more time, but it tastes better." Michael tried the cornbread cake Margaret had made. "Mom, this cake is identical to one I sometimes dream about, a cake that appears in my childhood dreams. Because this was the cake I made for you when you were a baby, Michael. Your memory held on to the taste." "How is that possible?" "A mother's love leaves a mark, my son, even when we're apart." Robert William arrived in the middle of the afternoon, coming straight from the workshop, his hands still dirty with grease. "Michael, sorry to arrive like this, but I didn't want to miss the chance to meet you." Michael shook Robert's dirty hand without hesitation. "William, it's a pleasure. James spoke very highly of you." "Michael, I brought something for you," said Robert, taking an old tool from his bag. "It belonged to our father, William. He always said that when you came home, you would get one of his tools." Michael held the old screwdriver, moved. "William considered me a son, even without knowing me." "Yes, he did. He said Margaret's son was his son too." Michael carefully put the tool away. It was his first inheritance from the stepfather he never knew. "Robert William, James told me you're going to be a father." "Yes, I am. Amanda is 7 months along. We're going to name the baby James Michael if it's a boy." Michael was emotional, knowing his first nephew would carry his name. "And if it's a girl?" "Margaret Jennifer," replied Robert, looking at Michael and then at Jennifer. Jennifer was moved. "William, were you all going to honor me too?" "Of course, sister-in-law. You took care of our brother all these years. You deserve our gratitude." Throughout the afternoon, Michael learned more details about his siblings' lives. He discovered that Elizabeth Ann gave free tutoring lessons to neighborhood children, that Robert William fixed cars for needy people without charging when they couldn't afford it, and that Sarah used part of her intern salary to buy medicine for poor elderly people. "You all help other people," observed Michael. "We learned from our mother," said Elizabeth Ann. "She always said that those who have suffered have an obligation to lessen the suffering of others." "And you never resented growing up with financial difficulties?" "No," answered Sarah. "Mother always made it clear that money isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is having a united family and a good heart." Michael realized that his siblings had received an emotional education that perfectly complemented the formal education he had received. "Everyone, can I propose something?" "Go ahead," they all answered at the same time. "How about from now on we get together once a month? Once at my house, once here." Margaret began to cry with joy. "Michael, would you really do that?" "I would, Mother. I want to make up for lost time, but without rushing. I want to get to know you all slowly. I want you to know me too." Elizabeth Ann got excited. "Michael, we can make a family WhatsApp group." "Yes, we can. I want to stay in touch with all of you." Robert Williams spoke up. Michael, can I ask you a favor? Sure. When my son is born, will you accept being his godfather? Michael was deeply moved. William, it would be an honor. And Jennifer, will you accept being his godmother? Asked William, looking at his sister-in-law. I accept with the greatest pleasure in the world, answered Jennifer with tears in her eyes. Sarah approached Michael. Michael, can I tell you something our mother hasn't told you yet? Go ahead. Mother works at the retirement home for free. She doesn't get paid anything. She works there because she says taking care of abandoned elderly people is a way to repay her debt to life for having found you. Michael looked at Margaret, impressed. Mother, you work for free? Yes, I do, my son. I have my pension, which is small but enough, and taking care of the elderly is good for my soul. How many elderly people do you take care of? There are 43 at the retirement home, but I also take care of about 10 who live alone here in the neighborhood. Michael was amazed by his mother's generosity. Mother, can I help the retirement home in some way? Michael, you don't need to. The retirement home has what it needs. But I want to help. Let me do something for your elderly people. Margaret thought for a moment. If you really want to help, there is one thing that would make a difference. What? The retirement home needs a new van to pick up the elderly who come for daytime activities. The old van breaks down every week. Consider it bought, said Michael immediately. Michael, you don't have to... Mother, I want to. Let me help with your work. Elizabeth Ann hugged Michael. Brother, you're just like Mother. You have a good heart. Later that afternoon, Michael also met his brother's wives. Amanda, Robert Williams' wife, was radiant with her pregnancy and was emotional upon meeting her brother-in-law. Michael, Robert William talks about you every day. Now I can finally put a face to the name. Amanda, I'm so happy to know I'm going to be an uncle. Michael, will you accept choosing the baby's name if it's a boy? Asked Amanda. Of course, but why me? Because you're the oldest brother. In our family, the oldest brother always has special privileges. Michael felt truly part of a family for the first time in decades. David, Elizabeth Ann's husband, also welcomed Michael warmly. Michael, it's a real pleasure. Elizabeth Ann was very eager to meet you. The pleasure is mine, David. Michael, I'm curious. Did you always want to have siblings? Always, David. I grew up feeling very lonely, even though I had wonderful parents. Well, now you won't feel lonely anymore. Our family is very close-knit. The twins, Emily and Olivia, clung to Michael, asking 1,000 questions about his life. Uncle Michael, is it true you have a huge swimming pool? Asked Emily. It's true. Can we go swimming there someday? Asked Olivia. You can whenever you want. Your house is now my house too. Uncle Michael, do you have children? Asked Emily. Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. It was a sensitive subject. No, Emily. Aunt Jennifer and I don't have children yet. Why? Margaret intervened. Emily, those things are for adults. You're still children. It's okay, Grandma. But now we have an uncle and aunt. That's already really good. Michael smiled. The girls had accepted Jennifer as their aunt naturally, without any reservations. In the late afternoon, the whole family gathered on the house's porch to talk. Michael watched his siblings interacting and noticed they had a very harmonious family dynamic. Everyone, can I ask you a question? Go ahead, said Elizabeth Ann. How did you manage to be so close, even with the difficulties you went through? Robert William answered. Michael, when you don't have much money, family is all you have. We learned to support each other from a very young age. And Mom always made it clear we were real siblings, that we had to take care of each other, added Sarah. That includes taking care of you too, said Elizabeth Ann. Mom always said that when you came back, we had to welcome you as if you had never left. Michael was moved by the unconditional love he received from people he had just met. Everyone, I want you to know, I will return this affection. I want to be present in your lives. I want to help however I can. I want to be the older brother you deserve. Michael, you don't need to help us financially, said Robert William. We manage just fine. I'm not just talking about money, William. I'm talking about presence, support, participating in your lives. Well then, said Sarah, But you also have to let us participate in your life. What do you mean? We want to know about your problems, your joys, your difficulties. We want to be real siblings, not just during the good times. Michael realized his siblings wanted a genuine relationship, not just a ceremonial one. Sarah, then I'll start by telling you something. Jennifer and I have been trying to have children for 3 years, but it's not working. The silence that followed was filled with empathy. Michael, have you sought medical help? Asked Sarah. Yes. We've done all the tests. The doctors say nothing is wrong, that sometimes it just takes time. Margaret approached Michael and Jennifer. My children, sometimes God has his own timing. I waited 40 years to be reunited with Michael. You may have to wait a little longer for your babies. Mrs. Margaret, sometimes I think I'll never be a mother, confessed Jennifer. Jennifer, look around you, said Margaret, pointing to everyone on the porch. You're already the aunt to 3 of my grandchildren, and soon you will be to 1 more. You are already a mother at heart. Jennifer was moved by Margaret's words. Michael, want to know something? Said Elizabeth Ann. What? The girls always asked when they would have cousins. Now, even if you don't have biological children, they already feel they've gained a special uncle and aunt. How so? Because you can teach them things that we can't. You've traveled, studied, seen the world. For the girls, that is very valuable. Michael realized he could be an important father figure in his nieces' lives, even without having children of his own. Emily, Olivia, would you like to spend a few days at my house during vacation? The 2 jumped for joy. Really, Uncle Mike? Can we go? Yes, you can. And you can bring your friends too. Elizabeth Ann worried. Michael, we don't want to be a bother to you. Elizabeth Ann, it's not a bother. It's family. When the sun began to set, Michael realized he needed to go home, but didn't want to say goodbye. Everyone, I don't want to leave. Then don't, said Margaret. Stay for dinner. I'll make pasta for everyone. Mom, are you sure? I am. It's been 40 years since I've cooked for you. Let me make up for at least 1 dinner. Michael looked at Jennifer, who nodded positively. Then we'll stay. During dinner, Michael heard stories about his siblings' childhood, and they heard stories about his life. He discovered he had more in common with them than he imagined. Michael, do you also hum when you're concentrating? Asked Elizabeth Ann. I do hum. Why? Because we all do it. Mum says we got it from her. I always thought it was just my quirk, said Michael. No, brother, said Robert William. It's really genetics. We all hum when we're working. Michael laughed, discovering another connection to his biological family. And do you also run your hands through your hair when you're nervous? We all do that, replied Sarah. It's a family mannerism. Michael realized he had more family traits than he thought. They weren't just physical features, but gestures and habits he had inherited. Everyone, can I confess something? Go ahead, said Margaret. I always felt like I didn't completely belong anywhere. Even though I had a wonderful adoptive family, I always felt like there was a piece missing. And now, asked Elizabeth Ann, now I feel complete for the first time in my life. Margaret began to cry again. My son, that's exactly what I prayed for every day, for you to feel complete when you found us. When it was really time to leave, Michael couldn't say goodbye. He hugged each sibling for a long time, promising to return soon. Michael, next Sunday is the twins' birthday, said Elizabeth Ann. Do you and Jennifer want to come? We'd love to, replied Jennifer before Michael could. Then it's settled. I'll make a special cake for the girls and another cornbread cake for you, said Margaret. Mom, can I bring something? You can bring soda for the kids, and if you want, you can bring some of your friends. I want your friendships to know your family too. Michael hugged Margaret for the last time that day. Mum, thank you for never giving up on looking for me. My son, a mother never gives up. It might take 40 years, but a mother never gives up. On the way back home, Michael and Jennifer talked about everything that had happened. Jen, did you like my family? I loved them, Michael. They're simple people, but with huge hearts. What impressed you the most? The way they welcomed you. It was as if you had never left. It's true. I felt that too. And Michael, your mother is an amazing woman. Seeing the way she takes care of everyone, the way she raised her children, it's inspiring. Jen, now I understand some things about myself that I never knew how to explain. Like what? My need to help others, my way of being intense with feelings, even my habit of humming. It all comes from there. Michael, do you feel different now? I feel whole, Jen. I feel like I finally know who I am completely. When they got home, Dorothy was waiting for them. How was it, Mr. Michael? It was wonderful, Dorothy. I met my siblings, my nieces, everyone. And did they like you? They liked you very much, and I fell in love with all of them. Dorothy smiled. I knew it would all work out. Mrs. Margaret always said you would get along the moment you met. Dorothy, I want to thank you once again. If you hadn't told me, I might never have found out about my family. Oh, family is sacred. We did the right thing. That night, Michael called each of his siblings, talking to each one individually. He wanted to establish a personal relationship with everyone, not just a collective one. Elizabeth Ann, can I ask you a question? Sure, brother. What's it like being a public school teacher? It's hard, Michael. There's a lack of materials, a lack of structure, the salaries are low, but it's rewarding when you see a child learning. Have you ever thought about having your own school? Yes, but I never had the means to think about it seriously. What if I helped you set up a small school in the neighborhood? Michael, you would do that? Yes, I would. But it would be your school, with your ideas, your way of teaching. I would only help with the initial investment. Elizabeth Ann began to cry on the other end of the line. Michael, that would be a dream come true. Then let's make it happen, but let's plan everything properly. No rush. Michael, can I tell you something? Go ahead. Now I understand why Mom always said you would come back to help us. You have her heart, but with the means to do more. Michael was moved by his sister's observation. Elizabeth Ann, you will also help me. You will teach me things I don't know. What kind of things? How to be a real family. Ooh. How to love without self-interest. How to be happy with little. Michael, you already know those things, you just didn't know you knew. After speaking with Elizabeth Ann, Michael called Robert William. William, how's the shop? It's going well, brother. I have a loyal clientele, people from the neighborhood who trust my work. Have you ever thought about expanding? Yes, but I don't have the capital for it. William, how about we talk about that? I can help you make a business plan. Michael, do you know anything about auto repair shops? I don't know about mechanics, but I know about business, and I can learn about mechanics from you. That would be interesting, brother. You teach me about administration, and I teach you about engines. It's a deal. When can we start? Whenever you want. My shop is always open for you. Michael realized he could establish a genuine exchange relationship with his siblings, where everyone would teach and learn something. Lastly, he called Sarah. Sarah, how's the internship at the hospital? It's busy, but very good. I love working with children. Sarah, I have a foundation that works with children's hospitals. Would you like to learn about our work? I would love to, Michael. And would you be interested in working with us when you graduate? Yes, I would. It would be a dream to combine my work with social help. Then it's settled. When you graduate, we'll talk about it. Michael, can I ask you a question? Sure. Why did you choose to work with children's hospitals? Because I've always been touched by the suffering of children. I never knew how to explain why. Mom always says you used to cry as a baby every time you heard a child crying. She thinks you were born with a very sensitive heart. Michael smiled. Another one of his traits that finally had an explanation. Sarah, do you think everything will work out with our family reunited? I think so, Michael. Mom suffered a lot, but she never lost hope. Now that you're back, she can finally be completely happy. And you all, don't you feel jealous that I showed up in her life after so long? Michael, we've loved you since we were children. You were always part of our family, even when you were far away. Now you've just come back home. When Michael hung up the phone, he felt truly blessed. He had found not just a mother, but an entire family that loved him unconditionally. Jen, I think I'm the luckiest man in the world. Why? Because I have you, who's the perfect woman for me. And now I have a biological family that loves me, even without knowing me well. Michael, you deserve all this happiness. We deserve it, Jen. This family is ours now. The following week, Michael organized his schedule to have more free time. He wanted to participate in his family's life without neglecting his professional commitments. Thursday arrived, and for the first time, Margaret came to Michael's house without needing to hide. She arrived late morning, bringing treats and a radiant smile. "My son, how are you?" "I'm great, Mom. And you?" "I've been on cloud 9 since last Sunday. I can't stop thinking about how good it was to get to know you properly." Margaret brought news from the other children. "Michael, Elizabeth Ann hasn't slept well all week because she's so excited. She really wants to talk to you about school. And I want to talk to her. I'm already thinking of some ideas. Robert William is excited too. He said he wants to show you the workshop, teach you how things work there. Mum, I'd love to learn. And Sarah wants to introduce you to her boyfriend. Matthew is a very good young man." Michael felt included in every aspect of his siblings' lives. "Mom, can I ask you a personal question?" "You can ask me anything, my son. Do you regret any decision you made in your life?" Margaret thought carefully before answering. "Michael, I regret not fighting harder to keep you when I was young, but I understand that at the time I didn't have the maturity or the means to do so." "And the rest? Do you regret anything?" "No, my son. Every decision I made brought me here, to this moment of reuniting with you. If I had done things differently, perhaps our story would be different. Mom, you are a very wise woman." "No, Michael. I just learned that life is made of choices, and that when we choose with love, it usually works out." Jennifer joined the conversation. "Mrs. Margaret, may I ask you a question?" "Of course, my dear." "Did you ever feel anger towards the parents who raised Michael?" "Never, Jennifer. On the contrary, I always felt gratitude. They did for Michael what I couldn't do. Thanks to them, my son became an educated, successful, and happy man." "Would you like to visit their graves?" asked Michael. "I would very much like to, my son. I want to thank them personally for taking such good care of you." Michael was moved by Margaret's generosity. Even having lost 40 years with her son, she felt gratitude towards those who had raised him. "Mum, on Sunday we'll all go to the cemetery together. I want you to meet the parents who raised me, and I want to introduce you to them." "Michael, do you think they would approve of our reunion?" "I'm sure they would, Mum. They always wanted me to be happy, and now I'm happier than ever." During the afternoon, Margaret helped Dorothy with some household chores, but Michael noticed she observed everything with loving attention. "Mum, what are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about how you've built a beautiful life, Michael. Your home breathes love. Your marriage is solid. You have employees who truly respect you." "How do you know Dorothy truly respects me?" "By the way she talks about you. It's not the forced respect of an employee for a boss. It's the genuine respect of someone who admires the person." Michael realized his mother had a special ability to read people and situations. "Mom, have you always been this observant?" "Always, my son. When you don't have money to protect yourself, you learn to observe people to know who you can trust. And do you trust me?" "Michael, I have trusted you since the day you were born. Even when I had to give you up, I knew you would grow into a good man." Michael embraced Margaret. "Mom, you'll never have to worry about money or protection again. Now you have a son who can take care of you." "My son, I don't need you to take care of me financially. I need you to take care of my heart." "What do you mean?" "Just keep being the good man you are. Keep calling me. Keep visiting me. Keep including me in your life. That's all I want." Michael understood that Margaret didn't want to be provided for. She wanted to be loved. "Mom, you'll be in my life forever. That's a promise. And I'll be in your children's lives too when they come." "Mom, what if they don't come?" "They will, Michael. I feel like you're going to have children. And they'll be blessed to have a grandmother who already loves them before they even exist." Jennifer was moved by Margaret's words. "Mrs. Margaret, do you really think we'll have children?" "I'm sure, Jennifer. You have so much love to give. God won't waste that." When Margaret left that Thursday, Michael felt different. He was no longer the successful businessman who constantly questioned his origins. He was a son, a brother-in-law, an uncle. "Jen, has anything changed between us since I found my family?" "It has, Michael." "What?" he asked, worried. "You've become happier. And when you're happier, our marriage gets even better. Are you sure you're not jealous of the attention I'm giving them?" "Michael, how could I be jealous of people who love you so much? They just want to see you happy, just like I do." "Jen, you're amazing." "Michael, can I tell you something?" "Go ahead." "Seeing your mother with you, I understood better how I want to be when we have our children. I want to love them unconditionally, like she loves you all. Jen, you're going to be a wonderful mother. And you're going to be an incredible father. I saw how you interacted with your nieces. You have a natural paternal instinct." On Sunday, Michael and Jennifer went to the twins' birthday party. The house was decorated with colorful balloons and the whole family was gathered. "Uncle Michael!" shouted Emily and Olivia, running to hug him. "Happy birthday, girls! You get more beautiful every day." Michael had brought carefully chosen gifts for his nieces, books about great businesswomen in history for Olivia, and books about famous lawyers for Emily. "Uncle Michael, you remembered our dreams," said Emily, flipping through the book about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. "And this book about Oprah Winfrey is perfect," said Olivia. Michael realized his nieces were truly very smart and determined. During the party, Michael got to know Matthew, Sarah's boyfriend, better. He was a polite and hard-working young man who studied business administration at night. "Michael, Sarah has told me a lot about you. It's an honor to meet you." "The pleasure is mine, Matthew. Sarah told me you're a very special young man." "Michael, can I ask you a business question?" "Go ahead." "I'm thinking of starting an accounting services company for small businesses. Do you think it's feasible?" Michael was impressed by Matthew's ambition. "Matthew, it's very feasible, and I can help you put together a solid business plan." "Really? You would do that?" "I would. Family helps family." Matthew was touched to be treated like family, even though he was just Sarah's boyfriend. During lunch, Michael observed the family dynamics. Everyone talked at once, laughed together, and cared for one another. It was the kind of warm family he had always dreamed of having. "Everyone, can I suggest something?" "Go ahead," said Margaret. "How about we take a trip together, the whole family?" "A trip?" asked Elizabeth Ann. "That's right. We could go to the beach, to the mountains, wherever you want." "Michael, this must be very expensive," said Robert William. "William, leave that to me. I want to experience traveling with my family." The twins were ecstatic. "Uncle Michael, we've never been to the beach," said Emily. "Never." Michael was surprised. "Never, Uncle. Mom and Dad always wanted to take us, but there was never enough money." Michael looked at Elizabeth Ann, who was embarrassed. "Michael, travel is a luxury. We always prioritized other things." "Well, now you're going to see the beach, and we're going to do it right, staying for a whole week." Margaret was worried. "Michael, won't that be too expensive?" "Mom, let me worry about that. You just worry about having fun." Sarah got excited. "Michael, can I bring Matthew?" "Of course. He's family now, too." Matthew was touched to be included in the family plans. "Michael, thank you so much. You barely know me and already treat me like family." "Matthew, you make Sarah happy. That makes you family automatically." That afternoon, Michael played with his nieces in the small backyard of Margaret's house. They showed him their games, their simple toys, and he had more fun than he had in years. "Uncle Michael, do you know how to play soccer?" asked Emily. "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because Grandma said you used to play really well when you were a kid." "Mom remembers that?" "Grandma remembers everything about you," said Olivia. Michael asked Margaret if she really remembered him playing soccer. "Yes, I do, my son. You had a tiny little ball that you got as a gift. You'd spend hours kicking it in the backyard of the house we lived in." "I don't remember that." "You were very small, but I remember every moment." The twins convinced Michael to play soccer with them in the yard. Jennifer watched, amused to see her husband playing like a child. "Jen, come play too." "Michael, I don't know how to play soccer." "Then you'll learn. The girls are great teachers." Jennifer joined the game, and soon the whole family was in the small backyard, laughing and having fun with an old ball. "Michael, it's been a long time since I've heard you laugh like that," observed Jennifer. "It's true. I'd forgotten how good it feels to play just for the fun of it." Margaret watched everything from the porch with a look of complete satisfaction. "Mom, why don't you come play too?" Michael shouted. "Oh, my son, I'm too old for that." "Nonsense! Come here." Margaret came down to the yard, and Michael taught her how to kick the ball. She laughed like a child when she managed to score a goal in the makeshift net between two chairs. "Michael, how many years has it been since I've had this much fun? Then let's have fun more often, Mum." When the afternoon ended, Michael felt renewed. He had rediscovered the pleasure of simple things thanks to his family. "Everyone, thank you so much for this wonderful day." "Michael, we're the ones who should be thanking you," said Elizabeth Ann. "You've brought joy to our family." "What do you mean?" "Mom has been radiant ever since she found you again. She's more lively, more joyful, more hopeful." Michael hugged Margaret. "Mom, is that true?" "Yes, my son. I feel complete again. I feel like I can finally rest, knowing all my children are well and united. Mom, you'll never have to worry about anything ever again." "Michael, my only worry now is that you all are happy. All of you." The following week, Michael began integrating his biological family into his routine. On Wednesdays, he had lunch with Margaret. On Saturdays, he visited Robert William at the auto shop. On Sundays, the whole family got together, alternating between his house and Margaret's house. 1 month after the reunion, Michael organized the beach trip he had promised. He rented a large house in Malibu with space for the whole family. "Michael, this is a dream," said Elizabeth Ann, seeing the ocean for the first time in her life. The twins ran onto the sand, screaming with joy. Robert William and Amanda walked hand in hand along the water's edge. Sarah and Matthew played volleyball on the beach. Margaret sat on the house's porch, watching all her children together. "Mom, why don't you come down to the beach?" asked Michael. "I'm fine right here, my son. I just enjoy watching you all have fun." "Mom, you need to have fun too." Michael took Margaret by the hand and led her to the sand. She stepped onto the beach for the first time at 62 years old. Michael, what a strange feeling. Good or bad? Wonderful. I understand why people like the beach so much. Michael taught Margaret to dip her feet in the foam of the waves. She laughed like a child when the cold water touched her feet. "My son, thank you for giving me this." "Mum, this is just the beginning. We have so much more to live together." During the 5 days of the trip, Michael got to know his family even better. He discovered that Elizabeth Ann was a great storyteller, that Robert William knew how to cook delicious dishes, that Sarah had an incredible sense of humor. "Michael, can I tell you something?" said Sarah, one night when they were all on the porch watching the stars. "Go ahead." "You changed our family for the better." "How so?" "Before, we were a happy family, but one that carried a sadness. Mom's sadness over you. Now we're a completely happy family." Michael was moved. "Sarah, you all completed me too. I didn't know something was missing in my life until I found you." Elizabeth Ann joined the conversation. "Michael, Mom is 10 years younger since she found you again." "How so?" "She smiles more, sleeps better, is more excited about everything. Finding you gave her back her youth." Michael looked at Margaret, who was talking with her granddaughters at the other end of the porch. "Everyone, I want you to know that I won't let our family be separated anymore." "What do you mean?" asked Robert William. "I mean I'm going to be present in your lives forever, for birthdays, during hard times, in happy times, in everything." "Michael, are you sure you won't get tired of us?" asked Elizabeth Ann. "Elizabeth Ann, how could I get tired of people who make me so happy? It's just that we're very different from you, Michael. We're simple, loud, sometimes a bit messy. Elizabeth Ann, you are authentic, and authenticity is the most valuable thing in the world." Robert Williams spoke up. "Michael, can I tell you a worry I have?" "Go ahead." "I'm afraid that people in your social circle won't approve of you having a family like ours." Michael thought about his brother's observation. "William, do you know what kind of people wouldn't approve of you?" What kind? People who aren't worth having as friends. The people who really matter will be happy to know I found my family. Are you sure about that? I am. And if anyone has a problem with you, they'll have a problem with me, not with you. Sarah smiled. Michael, now I understand why Mom always said you would be our protector when you grew up. She said that? Yes. She said the oldest brother protects the younger siblings, even from far away. Michael felt honored to have siblings who counted on his protection. On the last day of the trip, Michael made a proposal to the family. Everyone, I want to talk to you about an idea I had. What idea? Asked Margaret. I want to buy a bigger house in Yonkers, near where you live, to be our family house. How so? Asked Elizabeth Ann. A house where the whole family can get together on weekends, where the kids can play, where we can have parties, a house that belongs to all of us. Margaret looked worried. Michael, that will be very expensive. Mom, let me worry about that. You just worry about being happy. But Michael, don't you think that's a bit too much? Asked Robert William. William, for 40 years, I made money without having a family to spend it on. Now that I have a family, I want to spend it on what really matters. Jennifer supported the idea. Mrs. Margaret, I think it's a wonderful idea. This way we can get together more often without anyone feeling cramped for space. The twins jumped for joy. Uncle Michael, will it have a pool? Asked Emily. It will have everything you girls want. And will there be a room for each family? Asked Olivia. Yes, there will, and a special room for Grandma Margaret too. Margaret began to cry. Michael, you don't have to do all this for us. Mother, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for myself too. I want to have a place where our family can always gather. Matthew, who had been quiet, spoke up. Michael, can I help with something? I know I don't have money, but I can help with work. Matthew, of course you can. We'll need someone to manage the house, take care of maintenance. Would you be interested? I'd be very interested. It would be an honor to take care of the family home. Michael realized Matthew wanted to feel useful, not just receive favors. Then it's decided. When we get back from the beach, we'll start looking for the perfect house. During the last hours at the beach, Michael had an individual conversation with each family member, wanting to learn more about each one's dreams and concerns. Elizabeth Ann, tell me about this school you want to open. Michael, it's an old dream. I want to create a different school, where children learn not just subjects but values too. How so? A school where students learn about social responsibility, about helping others, about being conscious citizens. Michael got excited about the idea. Elizabeth Ann, that is exactly the kind of education the world needs. You would really help me do this? I would help and participate. I want to be a partner in this school with you. Michael, as a partner. That's right. You bring the pedagogical knowledge, I bring the investment and the administrative knowledge. We do it together. Elizabeth Ann hugged Michael tightly. Brother, you don't know the happiness you're giving me. Elizabeth Ann, you're giving me happiness too. I always wanted to invest in education but didn't know where to start. In the conversation with Robert William, Michael discovered that his brother had ambitious plans for the shop. William, what would you like to do with your shop if you had unlimited resources? Michael, I would like to turn it into a technical school, teach mechanics to young people who don't have the opportunity. Really? You want to be a teacher? Yes, I do. There are a lot of good people in our neighborhood who can't afford technical courses. I could teach for free. Michael was once again impressed by his siblings' generosity. William, how about we expand your shop and create this technical school? Michael, that would be amazing, but it must cost a fortune. William, let me tell you something. I have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. Using that money to help people is the best way to give it meaning. Brother, are you sure? I'm absolutely sure. Let's make this happen. With Sarah, Michael discovered she had a social project in mind. Sarah, what would you do if you could help sick children in some special way? Michael, I would like to create a home care program for children who are discharged from the hospital but still need special care. How would it work? Nurses would visit these children at home, guide the parents, change dressings, administer medications. Many children go back to the hospital because parents don't know how to care for them properly at home. Michael was impressed with Sarah's vision. "Sarah, that is brilliant. Do you want to develop this project?" "I really do, but I don't even know where to start." "Then let's start together. My foundation can fund this project and you can coordinate it." "Michael, really? Really? You'll be our home care coordinator." Sarah started crying with joy. "Michael, thank you for believing in me." "Sarah, I'm not believing in you. I'm investing in what I know will work." When they returned from the trip, Michael was determined to turn all those dreams into reality. But first, he wanted to resolve the issue of the family home. "Jen, do you want to come with me to look for houses in Yonkers?" "Yes, I do. But Michael, are you sure this is what you want?" "I'm sure. Why do you ask?" "Because it's a big commitment. A house like that will mean you'll spend a lot of time there with your biological family." Michael realized Jennifer still had some insecurities. "Jen, are you afraid I'll drift away from you?" "A little, yes. It's a lot of new things, Michael. Sometimes I feel lost in the middle of so much emotion." Michael hugged Jennifer. "Jen, listen to me. You are the woman of my life. Nothing and no one will change that. My biological family is only adding to our life, not taking away." "I know, Michael. It's just that sometimes I feel insecure seeing how happy you are with them." "Jen, I'm happy because I finally feel complete. And a complete man is a better husband." Jennifer smiled. "You're right. Sorry for the insecurity." "Jen, you have the right to feel insecure. It's normal. But I want you to know that our priority is still the two of us." The following Saturday, Michael and Jennifer went with Margaret to look for houses in Yonkers. They wanted to find something close to Margaret's current home, but with space for the whole family. "Michael, it doesn't have to be anything too luxurious," said Margaret, while they visited the third house of the day. "Mom, I want it to be comfortable for everyone." "But Michael, you have to think that the neighbors might get envious if the house is too flashy." Michael realized Margaret had a genuine concern about the social impact of his decisions. "Mom, then let's look for something nice but discreet." "That's right, my son." They found a perfect house, large but not showy, with a spacious backyard and 5 bedrooms. It was just 3 blocks from Margaret's house. "This is perfect," said Jennifer. "There's space for everyone, but it doesn't draw attention. And it has a backyard where the children can play," observed Margaret. Michael bought the house that same week and started renovating it. He wanted every detail to be thought out for the family's comfort. "Michael, can I suggest a few things?" asked Margaret. "You can suggest everything, Mum. How about making a really big kitchen where we can all cook together on Sundays?" "Great idea. What else?" "A big living room where everyone can gather to talk, and a little corner with a hammock for anyone who wants to rest." Michael wrote down all of Margaret's suggestions. He wanted the house to reflect the family's way of being. During the construction, Michael started visiting the site daily, overseeing every detail. The neighbors grew curious about the activity. "Mrs. Margaret, who is that young man renovating the house on the corner?" asked a neighbor. "That's my son, Michael," replied Margaret with pride. "Your son? But Mrs. Margaret, I thought you weren't in touch with your children." "I was, with 4 of them. Michael is the oldest, who was living far away. Now he's come back home." The neighbor was curious. "And he's doing well for himself, huh? By the renovation he's doing?" "Yes, thank God. My son worked hard and found success in life." Michael noticed Margaret spoke of him with naturalness, without exaggeration or embarrassment. "Mum, how are the neighbors reacting?" "Well, Michael, everyone is happy to see a family reunited." "No one made any negative comments?" "No, my son. The people here are good. They know a united family is a blessing." 3 months after the reunion, the house was ready. Michael organized a housewarming party for the whole family and the neighbors. "Michael, you didn't have to invite the entire neighborhood," said Margaret. "Mum, I want everyone to know our family. I want them to know we're here to add to the community, not to separate ourselves." The party was a success. Michael spoke with dozens of neighbors, met other families in the area, and felt truly part of that community. "Michael, are you really Mrs. Margaret's son?" asked an elderly lady. "Yes, I am, Mrs. Dorothy." "Oh, what joy. Mrs. Margaret suffered so much looking for you. Now she can die in peace. Michael was touched to learn that his mother's suffering was known and shared by the neighbors. Mrs. Dorothy, did my mother tell people about me? Yes, she did, my dear. Everyone here knew she had a son who was lost out there. We prayed for you to find each other. Michael realized that his return home wasn't just a family matter, but a community one. The whole neighborhood had taken part in the search, even if indirectly. During the party, the twins never left Michael's side. Uncle Mike, the house is beautiful. Did you like your room? We loved it, especially the bunk beds. We've never had bunk beds before. Michael had prepared a special room for the girls, with bunk beds, a large desk where they could study, and a bookshelf full of books. Uncle Mike, can I ask you a question? Said Emily. Go ahead. Are you going to live here with us? No, Emily. I live with Aunt Jennifer in our house, but I'll come here every weekend. And can we sleep over at your house sometimes? Whenever you want, Olivia approached. Uncle Mike, thank you for making Grandma happy. What do you mean, Olivia? Grandma has been much happier since you came back. She laughs more, plays with us more, and doesn't get sad on her birthday anymore. Michael was moved to learn that his return had even transformed Margaret's relationship with her granddaughters. Olivia, you make me happy too. Having smart nieces like you is a blessing. Uncle Mike, are you and Aunt Jennifer going to have children? Michael exchanged a look with Jennifer, who was talking with other women from the neighborhood. We don't know, Olivia. Sometimes these things take time, but if you do, we'll help take care of them. Of course you will. You'll be perfect big sisters. In the middle of the party, Robert William called Michael aside for a private conversation. Michael, I need to tell you something. What is it, William? Amanda had some contractions yesterday. The doctor said the baby might come early. Michael was worried. How is she now? She's okay, but on bed rest. That's why she didn't come to the party. William, do you want me to call a private doctor for a second opinion? Michael, I don't want to take advantage of your generosity. William, it's not generosity. It's family taking care of family. Michael immediately called his personal doctor, who agreed to visit Amanda at home that same day. William, Dr. Williams will stop by your house tonight. He's one of the best obstetricians in New York. William hugged Michael. Brother, how can I thank you? No need to thank me, just take care of your family. An hour later, Dr. Williams called Michael. Michael, I examined your sister-in-law. She's fine, but she really needs complete bed rest for the next 3 weeks. Doctor, does she need to be hospitalized? It's not necessary, but she needs someone caring for her 24/7, and she needs some specific medication to prevent premature birth. Don't worry, doctor. I'll arrange everything. Michael hired a nurse to care for Amanda at home, arranged for all the necessary medications, and organized himself to visit the couple daily. Michael, all of this must be costing a fortune, said Robert William, worried. William, forget the money. Focus on what matters, your wife and your son. Michael, how will I ever repay you? William, you won't repay me. You'll repay me by being a good father and a good brother. 3 weeks later, Amanda gave birth to James Michael, a healthy baby boy weighing 7 pounds. Michael was at the hospital, as nervous as if he were the father himself. Michael, would you like to meet your nephew? Asked Robert William, beaming. Michael entered the room and saw Amanda holding a small, perfect baby. Michael, thank you for taking care of us, said Amanda, with tears in her eyes. Amanda, thank you for giving me a beautiful nephew. Michael picked up James Michael, and the baby immediately stopped crying. Look at that, he recognized you, said Robert William. How could he recognize me? He was just born. Babies sense things, Michael. He knows your family. Margaret arrived at the hospital an hour later, radiant with joy. My first grandson, she said, taking the baby in her arms. No, Mom. Your first granddaughters are Emily and Olivia. This is your 5th grandson. You're right, Michael. But he's the first one I've seen being born. Michael watched Margaret with her grandson in her arms and realized she was finally experiencing all the grandmother moments she had missed when he was a baby. Mom, are you happy? Michael, I feel complete. Now I have all my children with me. I have grandchildren. I have a reunited family. Elizabeth Ann arrived shortly after with the twins. "Uncle Michael, can I see my cousin?" asked Emily. "Yes, you can, girls." The twins looked at the baby with curiosity and affection. "Grandma, does he look just like Uncle Michael when he was a baby?" asked Olivia. "Just the same, my granddaughter. The same little mouth, the same little nose." Michael was moved, noticing that family traits were being passed down through the generations. "William, Amanda, have you thought about the baby's middle name?" "Yes, we have," said Amanda. "He will be named James Michael Richardson Walker." "Richardson Walker?" Michael was surprised. "Yes. Richardson in honor of the family that raised you, Walker in honor of our family. He will carry both last names, just like you." Michael was deeply touched by the tribute. "William, Amanda, thank you so much." "Michael, we are the ones who thank you for everything you've done for our family." Sarah arrived at the hospital still in her uniform, coming straight from her internship. "Oh, how beautiful," she said, taking her nephew in her arms. "James Michael, I'm your Aunt Sarah. I'll teach you many things when you grow up." Matthew arrived soon after, bringing flowers for Amanda. "Matthew, thank you for the flowers," said Amanda. "Amanda, thank you for letting me be part of this moment." Michael noticed how Matthew was naturally integrated into the family, even though he was only Sarah's boyfriend. "Matthew, you're already our brother-in-law in our hearts," said Michael. "Michael, that means a lot to me." "Matthew, can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead." "When are you going to ask Sarah to marry you?" Matthew turned red. "Michael, I'm not in a position to give her what she deserves yet." "Matthew, do you think Sarah cares about money?" "No, but I do. I want to be able to take care of her properly." Michael admired Matthew's stance. "Matthew, when you feel ready, count on me for whatever you need." "Michael, you would do that?" "I would. Sarah deserves to be happy, and you make her happy." That evening, the whole family gathered at the new house to celebrate the birth of James Michael. Margaret prepared a special dinner, and everyone toasted to the arrival of the new family member. "Michael, may I propose a toast?" said Elizabeth Ann. "You may. A toast to our oldest brother, who not only came back home, but brought prosperity and unity to our family. Elizabeth Ann, the one who brought prosperity, was our mother. She raised us with values that are worth more than money." Margaret got emotional. "My children, you don't know the joy it is to feel useful again." "How so, Mom?" asked Sarah. "All these years, I felt like I had failed as a mother, as if I had lost the right to be called Mum." Michael held Margaret's hand. "Mum, you never lost that right. You were always my mother, even when I didn't know where you were." "Michael, can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" "You can tell me everything, Mom." "All these years, I talked to you every night before going to sleep. I told you about my day, asked if you were okay, apologized for having given you up." Michael started to cry. "Mom, I talked to you too, especially when I was a child. I imagined whole conversations we would have when we met." "And now we're having those conversations for real," said Margaret, smiling through her tears. Robert Williams spoke up. "Guys, can I say something serious?" "Go ahead," said Michael. "I want you to know that having Michael back has changed not just our family but the whole neighborhood." "How so?" asked Jennifer. "The people in the neighborhood are more hopeful. When they see that Mrs. Margaret found the son she had been looking for 40 years, they start to believe their own dreams can come true too." Michael was surprised. "Really, William?" "Really, brother. You've become a kind of symbol that it's worth not giving up on dreams." Elizabeth Ann agreed. "It's true, Michael. Several people came to me to ask how you managed to find Mom. They want to apply it to their own lives." "And what did you tell them?" "That it wasn't you who found her, it was she who found you, and that it only happened because she never gave up." Michael realized his story was inspiring other people beyond his family. "Guys, this gives me an idea." "What idea?" asked Sarah. "What if we created some kind of program to help separated families reunite?" Margaret got excited. "Michael, what a wonderful idea." "How would it work?" asked Matthew. "We could create a database, a website, some way to connect people who are looking for each other." Elizabeth Ann got excited. "Michael, I could coordinate that. I have experience with registration because of the school, and I could help with the nursing part, taking care of the emotional side of the reunions, said Sarah. And me with the technical part, website maintenance, said Matthew. Robert William also volunteered. I could help with transportation. When people found each other, I could take them for free to the meeting place. Michael was moved, seeing the whole family engaging in a social cause. Guys, are you really up for doing this? We are, they all answered at the same time. Margaret got emotional. My children, I'm so proud of you, using our experience to help other families. Mum, you're the one who taught us that those who have suffered have an obligation to lessen the suffering of others. Michael, what are we going to call this project? Michael thought for a few minutes. Reunion Project, Families in Search. What do you think? Perfect, said Elizabeth Ann. And are we going to use our new house as the headquarters? Yes, we are, agreed Margaret. What better place to reunite families than a house made especially to bring family together? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 2 months later, the reunion project was up and running. Elizabeth Ann had created an efficient registration system. Sarah attended to the families from an emotional standpoint. Matthew kept the website updated, and Robert William provided free transportation. Michael, we have our first meeting scheduled, said Elizabeth Ann, excited. Really? Who is it? A 70-year-old woman who's looking for a daughter she gave up for adoption 50 years ago. And did you find the daughter? We did. She was also looking for her birth mother. They're going to meet here at our house on Sunday. Michael was moved knowing his home would be the stage for another family reunion. Elizabeth Ann, how did they react when they found out? They both cried a lot. The daughter said she always knew she would find her mother one day. Just like our story. Exactly the same, Michael. On Sunday, Michael and the whole family were present to witness the reunion. The 70-year-old woman, Mrs. Eleanor, arrived nervous and anxious. Mrs. Eleanor, don't worry, said Margaret. I know exactly how you're feeling. Mrs. Margaret, what if she doesn't like me? What if she blames me for giving her up? Mrs. Eleanor, if she agreed to meet with you, it's because she's already forgiven you. When the daughter arrived, a 50-year-old woman named Susan, the moment was as emotional as Michael and Margaret's reunion. Mother, said Susan, her voice trembling. My daughter, replied Mrs. Eleanor, running to hug her. Michael watched the scene with tears in his eyes, remembering his own reunion. Jen, being present at this moment makes me relive all the emotion I felt when I found my mother. Michael, what a privilege to be able to help other families go through this too. After Mrs. Eleanor and Susan's meeting, Michael realized he had found a mission in life. Everyone, I want to expand this project. I want it to reach all of Brazil. Michael, how would we do that? Asked Elizabeth Ann. We can create a network of volunteers, partnerships with other institutions, even a specific foundation for this. Margaret got excited. Michael, how many families could we help reunite? Thousands, Mother, maybe millions. During the following months, the reunion project grew exponentially. Michael invested his own resources, hired specialized professionals, and created a national structure. Michael, we already have requests for help from every state in Brazil, reported Elizabeth Ann, who had become the project's general coordinator. And what are the results like? We've already reunited over 300 families. Michael was moved by the numbers. Elizabeth Ann, that means there are over 300 people experiencing the same joy I did. Exactly, and they all learned that the inspiration for the project was our story. How do they react? They get emotional. Many want to come here to meet our family. Michael realized his story had become a symbol of hope for other people. Elizabeth Ann, do you think we should tell our story publicly? How so? Write a book, give interviews, appear on television to encourage more people to look for their families. Elizabeth Ann was unsure. Michael, wouldn't that be too much exposure? It would, but it might be worth it if it can help more people. Michael talked with the whole family about the possibility of making their story public. Michael, I'm in, said Margaret. If our experience can help other mothers and children find each other, it's worth it. And you? He asked the other siblings. We're in too, said Robert William, as long as it's to help people. Sarah, Matthew, are you in too? We're in, they replied together. And you, Jen, are you okay with exposing our lives to help other families? Jennifer thought carefully. Michael, yes, I'm in. Our story is beautiful, and it can give hope to many people. 3 months later, Michael was invited to give an interview on a national television program. He took Margaret, and together they told their reunion story. Michael, what did you feel during all those years without knowing your birth mother? Asked the host. I felt like there was a piece missing in me. Even with a successful life, there was always a void. And you, Mrs. Margaret, what was it like searching for your son for 40 years? It was difficult, but I never thought about giving up. A mother doesn't give up on her child no matter how much time passes. Michael, did your life change after reuniting with your family? Completely. I discovered that professional success isn't enough. I discovered that what really matters are the people we love. The interview was a success. Michael and Margaret received thousands of messages from people who identified with their story. Michael, look at this, said Elizabeth Ann, showing the computer. Since the interview, the number of people searching for the reunion project has tripled. Really? Really? And look at this message. I watched the interview and decided to look for my sister, whom I haven't seen in 20 years. Thanks to you, I found the courage. Michael was moved reading dozens of similar messages. Elizabeth Ann, we're making a difference in people's lives. Yes, we are, brother. And that's the most rewarding thing of all. 6 months after the TV interview, Michael was approached by a publisher who wanted to publish a book about his story. Michael, would you be willing to write a book? Asked the publisher. I'm not sure if we know how to write, but we know how to tell the story. Then we can hire a writer to help you organize the narrative. Michael talked with the family, and everyone agreed to participate in the book. Everyone, there's one condition, Michael told the publisher. What is it? All the book's proceeds will go to the reunion project. We don't want to profit from our story. Michael, that's very noble of you. It's not nobility, it's purpose. The book, The Reunion, a story of family and hope, was launched a year later and became a bestseller. Michael and Margaret did dozens of book launch events across the country, always accompanied by other family members. Michael, I can't believe our story became a book, said Margaret, flipping through the signed copy. Mom, our story can inspire thousands of people not to give up searching for their families. Michael, do you think we did the right thing? Mom, look at this. Michael showed a letter he had received. I read your book and decided to look for my father, whom I haven't seen in 30 years. We found his phone number through the reunion project. We're meeting next week. Thank you for giving me hope. Margaret began to cry. Michael, how many families are we helping to reunite? Many, Mom, and every reunion is a victory for us too. During the book launch period, Michael and Margaret traveled all over the country. In every city, they met families who had been reunited through the reunion project. Michael, Margaret, said a woman in Buffalo, you saved my family. I found my birth mother thanks to your project. What was the reunion like? Asked Margaret. Just like yours. Lots of tears, lots of love, lots of lost time to make up for. And now we're happy. My mother met my children. I met my siblings. We're building a reunited family. Michael was moved hearing stories like this in every city they visited. Jen, I think I found my purpose in life, said Michael during one of the trips. What purpose? Helping families reunite. I discovered that this makes me happier than any business. Michael, are you saying you're thinking of dedicating yourself solely to the reunion project? I am thinking about it, yes. Obviously without abandoning our company, but dedicating more time to the project. Jennifer supported the decision. Michael, do what makes you happy. You have enough money to live several lifetimes. Use your time with what fulfills you. Michael reorganized his professional schedule, delegated more responsibilities at the company, and began dedicating 70% of his time to the reunion project. "Michael, how are the project's numbers now?" asked Robert William during a family lunch. "We've already helped over 5,000 families reunite, William. 5,000. "Michael, do you realize what that means?" asked Sarah. "What do you mean?" "That's 5,000 people who were sad and are now happy. 5,000 families that were incomplete and are now reunited." Michael had never thought about those numbers that way. "Sarah, when you put it like that, it sounds like we're doing something really important." "Michael, you're doing the most important thing in the world," said Margaret. "You're bringing families together." 2 years after the reunion, Michael organized a big anniversary party to celebrate the success of the reunion project. He invited all the families that had been reunited through the project. "Michael, how many people came?" asked Elizabeth Ann, looking at the packed hall. "Over 2,000 people, representatives from 1,000 families that were reunited." "Michael, look how beautiful this is," said Jennifer, pointing to the hall. Michael looked around and saw hundreds of families hugging, talking, laughing, getting to know each other. It was a celebration of family unity. "Everyone, can I say something?" Michael asked for the microphone. "You can speak," the crowd responded. 2 years ago, I was a successful businessman, but incomplete. I had money, I had a wonderful wife, I had a comfortable life. But something fundamental was missing: family. The audience fell silent. "When my mother found me after searching for me for 40 years, I discovered that success isn't enough. You need people to share that success with." "That's true," someone in the audience shouted. "Today, seeing all of you here reunited with your families, I know I've found my true purpose in life, helping people find what really matters." The audience applauded enthusiastically. "And I want you to know that this party isn't just mine. This party belongs to every father who reunited with a child, every mother who embraced a lost child, every sibling who discovered they weren't alone in the world." Michael called Margaret to speak too. "My son asked me to speak, but I don't know how to speak beautifully like he does," said Margaret, her voice choked up. "Speak from the heart, Grandma," someone shouted. "Then I'll speak from the heart indeed. For 40 years, I woke up every day thinking about my son Michael, where he was, if he was happy, if he was well cared for." The silence was total. I worked, took care of my other children, helped the neighbors, but always with that pain in my chest of not knowing about my firstborn. Margaret began to cry. "Today, seeing all of you here, knowing that our pain served to lessen your pain, I can say that every tear I shed was worth it." The audience erupted in applause and tears. "Thank you, my God, for allowing me to find my son. And thank you for allowing our story to help so many other families find each other too." Michael hugged Margaret on stage, and the whole family joined them. It was a moment of collective gratitude. After the party, Michael was emotionally drained, but deeply fulfilled. "Jen, I've never felt so useful in my life. Michael, you're making a difference in the world. You know what amazes me the most?" "What?" "That everything started with Dorothy telling me the truth. If she hadn't had the courage to tell me about my mother's visits, none of this would have happened. Dorothy really was an angel in our life." Michael decided to pay a special tribute to Dorothy. "Dorothy, I want to give you something," said Michael, handing an envelope to the housekeeper. "What is it, Mr. Michael?" "It's the deed to a house in your name." Dorothy began to cry. "Mr. Michael, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can, Dorothy. If it weren't for you, I never would have found my family. And without my family, I never would have discovered my purpose in life. Mr. Richardson, I only did what I thought was right." "Exactly. And doing what's right deserves to be rewarded." Dorothy hugged Michael tightly. "Mr. Richardson, thank you so much. Now my grandchildren will have a place to live when I'm gone. Dorothy, you're not going anywhere anytime soon. You still have so much family to help reunite." 3 years after the reunion, Michael received a call that would once again change his life. "Michael, this is the Human Rights Award Foundation. You've been nominated to receive our annual award." "An award for what?" "For the Reunion Project. You've already reunited over 10,000 families. It's an unprecedented social impact." Michael was surprised. I accept the award, but I want to share it with my entire family. Of course, Michael. All of you will be honored. The award ceremony was emotional. Michael walked up to the stage accompanied by Margaret, all his siblings, Jennifer, and even the twins. Michael Richardson and family for the extraordinary work of family reunification through the Reunion Project, announced the host. Michael received the trophy, but immediately handed it to Margaret. This award belongs to the woman who never gave up searching for her son. The victory is hers. Margaret held the trophy with trembling hands. Michael, this award isn't mine, it's ours. It belongs to every family that has the courage to search for their loved ones. The audience was moved by Margaret's humility. Mrs. Walker, would you like to say a few words? Asked the host. Yes, I would. I want to tell all the mothers watching, never give up searching for your children. And to all the children, never give up searching for your mothers. Family is the most important thing in the world. Michael watched his mother speaking to millions of people on television and felt like the proudest son in the world. After the award ceremony, Michael realized his life had completely transformed. Jen, looking back, I can see how everything in my life led to this moment. How so? My business success gave me the resources to help other families. The pain of not knowing my origins helped me understand other people's pain. Reuniting with my family gave me purpose. Michael, do you think all this was planned? I think so. I think every bad experience I had prepared me to do something good. Jennifer hugged Michael. Michael, I love you even more after all this. Why? Because I saw you discover who you really are. I saw you find your place in the world. Jen, what is my place in the world? Your place is bringing people together, reuniting families, spreading love. Michael smiled. You're right. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. 4 years after the reunion, Michael was in his office reviewing Reunion Project reports when he received an unexpected call. Michael, this is Dr. Thompson, your doctor. Hi, doctor. Is something wrong? No, Michael. Actually, I have great news for you and Jennifer. What news? Jennifer's latest tests show she's pregnant. Michael almost dropped the phone. Doctor, are you sure? Absolutely certain. Jennifer is 6 weeks along. Michael began crying with joy. Doctor, thank you so much for giving me this news. Michael, congratulations to both of you. I know you've been trying for a long time. Michael rushed home to tell Jennifer the news. Jen, he shouted, entering the house. What is it, Michael? Did something happen? Something did happen. You're pregnant. Jennifer was in shock. How do you know? Doctor, Thompson called with your test results. Jennifer began crying and laughing at the same time. Michael, is this real? It's real, my love. We're going to be parents. Jennifer hugged Michael tightly. Michael, I can't believe it. After so long. Jen, our family is complete now. Michael, I want to tell your family in person. Can we go there today? Yes, let's go. They're going to be so emotional. Michael and Jennifer arrived at the family home late in the afternoon. Everyone was gathered for Sunday dinner. Everyone, we have some news to share, said Michael. What news? Asked Margaret. Jennifer is pregnant, said Michael, smiling. The silence lasted only 2 seconds. What? Everyone shouted at once. Margaret was the first to hug Jennifer. My daughter, what joy! I'm finally going to have a grandbaby, Michael's little one. Mrs. Margaret, I'm so happy, said Jennifer, crying. The twins jumped into Michael's lap. Uncle Michael, we're going to have a baby cousin, shouted Emily. Yes, we are, girls, and you're going to help me take care of him. Of course we will, said Olivia. Elizabeth Ann hugged Michael. Brother, what joy! Now our family is truly complete. Robert William also hugged his brother. Michael, you're going to be an amazing father. William, I'm nervous. What if I don't know how to be a father? Michael, you learn by doing, and you have a huge heart. Everything will be fine. Sarah hugged Jennifer. Jennifer, can I be the baby's doctor? When I graduate, I want to look after my nephew. Of course, Sarah. It would be an honor. Matthew also congratulated the couple. Michael, Jennifer, congratulations. The baby will have the most loving family in the world. Margaret asked for silence. Everyone, can I say something? Go ahead, Mom, said Michael. I always knew you two would have children. I felt it in my grandmother's heart. How, Mom? Because you have so much love to give. God wouldn't waste that. Jennifer hugged Margaret. Mrs. Margaret, I want you to teach me everything about being a mother. My dear, you learn by doing, but I'll be here to help you with whatever you need. During dinner, everyone made plans for the baby. Michael, do you want me to make the crib? Offered Robert William. Really, William? Of course, I want my nephew to have a crib made with love by his uncle. And I can make the little clothes, said Elizabeth Ann. And I'll handle the medical part, said Sarah. And we'll teach him games, said the twins. Michael looked around the table, seeing the whole family mobilizing to welcome his child. Jen, our baby is going to be the most loved in the world. Michael, he's going to grow up surrounded by love from all sides. Margaret got emotional. Michael, remember when you asked me if I regretted anything? I remember, Mom. Now I can answer completely. I don't regret anything, because everything brought me here, to this moment of seeing my first child becoming a father. Michael hugged Margaret. Mom, thank you for never giving up on looking for me. If you had given up, our baby would never know his biological grandmother. Michael, I would never give up. And now I'll be able to give this baby all the grandmother's love I couldn't give you when you were little. 9 months later, Margaret Richardson Walker was born, a beautiful girl who brought even more unity to the family. Michael, she looks just like Grandma Margaret, said Jennifer, holding the baby. She really does, agreed Michael, emotional. Margaret was in the hospital, holding her granddaughter in her arms, fulfilling her dream of being a present grandmother. Margaret, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, said Margaret to the baby. Mom, now you have a granddaughter with your name, said Michael. Michael, this is the greatest honor of my life. The whole family was at the hospital to meet Margaret. Aunt Jennifer, can I hold my cousin? Asked Emily. Yes, you can, but be careful. Emily took the baby in her arms and began to sing softly. Cousin Margaret, I'm your cousin, Emily. I'm going to teach you so many things when you grow up. Michael watched the scene, moved by the love his daughter was already receiving. Jen, our daughter will never feel alone in the world. Never, Michael. She has a huge family that already loves her. Jen, now I understand why it took her so long to get here. Why? Because we needed to bring the whole family together first. Now she's born into a complete and united family. Jennifer smiled. You're right. Margaret arrived at the perfect moment. 1 year after Margaret's birth, Michael was reflecting on everything that had happened in his life. Jen, 5 years ago I was a lonely businessman questioning my origins. And today? Today I'm a son, brother, brother-in-law, uncle, husband, father, and founder of a project that has already reunited over 15,000 families. Michael, your life has completely transformed. It transformed because I found my family, and finding my family taught me that nothing is worth more than love. Michael, what is your greatest joy today? Seeing my daughter growing up surrounded by grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, seeing that she'll never feel the absence that I felt. And what is your biggest dream now? That the reunion project continues growing and helping families for many generations. Michael looked through the window of his home, watching Margaret playing in the garden with her cousins Emily and Olivia under the loving gaze of grandmother Margaret. Jen, I think I can say I'm the most fulfilled man in the world. Why? Because I found everything that matters: family, purpose, and love. End of story. And you? What did you think of this reunion story? Do you believe Margaret made the right choice by never giving up on searching for Michael? Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to leave your like, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one. Your participation is essential for us to continue bringing stories that inspire and move.